until 1948 and then revived in 1949. It started as a West Coast regional program produced at KGO in San Francisco. This regional version originally starred Jack Webb in the title role with scripts by his roommate, Richard L. Breen. When Webb and Breen moved to Los Angeles from San Francisco, Webb was replaced by Ben Morris and Breen by Gil Dowd. Meanwhile, in L.A., Webb and Breen, joined by director William P. Russo, would work on an extremely similar national series known as Johnny Madero, Pier 23, for the Mutual Network. Webb would then star in Jeff Regan Investigator until December of 1948. By 1949, a year after the end of the San Francisco run of the original series, Jack Webb resumed the Novak role and Breen his duties as scriptwriter, this time for the national audience on ABC. Pat Novak for Hire is set on the San Francisco waterfront. It depicts the city as Pat Novak sees it, a dark, rough place where the main goal is survival. Not a detective by trade, Novak owns a boat shop on Pier 19 where he rents out boats and does odd jobs to make money. The series is popular among fans for its fast-paced, hard-boiled dialogue, action, and witty one-liners. Each episode of the program, especially with Jack Webb, follows the same basic formula. A foghorn sounds and Novak's steps are heard walking down the pier. He then pauses and begins with the line, "Sure, I'm Pat Novak, for hire." The theme music would start, during which Novak gives a monologue about the troubles along the waterfront and his job renting boats. Novak narrates the story throughout the show. He is cynical, and he throws out lines such as, "Around here, a set of morals won't cause any more stir than Mother's Day in an orphanage." He then introduces the trouble in which he finds himself that week. The dialogue is a continuous stream of similes typically found in pulp fiction. For example, in So Long Dixie Gillian, Novak describes a lady entering his room this way. "She sauntered in, moving slowly from side to side like 118 pounds of warm smoke. Her voice was all right, too. It reminded you of a furnace full of marshmallows." Typically, a person unknown to Novak asks him to do an unusual or risky job, or he is suspicious because the job sounds too easy. But Novak reluctantly accepts and quickly finds himself in hot water in the form of an unexplained dead body. Sultry females are usually involved. Police Inspector Hellman, played by Raymond Burr, arrives on the scene and tries to pin the murder on Novak. With only circumstantial evidence to go on, Hellman promises to haul Novak in the next day for the crime. The rapid, staccato dialogue between Webb and Burr is typical of hard-boiled fiction and is often humorous. Pat uses the time to try to solve the case. He usually employs the help of his friend Jocko Madigan, played by Tudor Owen. Jocko is an ex-doctor and a drunkard, and is typically found in some dive bar. When Patsy, as Novak is called, asks him for help, Jocko launches into a long-winded philosophical tirade full of witty and funny remarks until Novak finally cuts him off. Reluctantly, Jocko always helps Novak. Jocko and Novak unravel the case, and Hellman makes the arrest. Finally, we hear the foghorn and Novak steps on the pier again before Novak spells out the details of the case before us, which is often rather complicated and requires an explanation for the listener to understand. At the end, Novak informs us that Hellman only asked one question, which Novak answers with a clever retort. Music for the show was supplied by Basil Adlam. Announcers included Fred Foy, Raymond Burr, George Fenneman, Hal Gibney, and William Conrad. Pat Novak for Hire has become one of the golden age of radio's most prized remnants. Pat Novak would run until June 26, 1949. Part of the reason for the end of the run was that 3 weeks earlier, Jack Webb had started another show which you may have heard of. It was called Dragnet. Information for the synopsis was taken from the website Digital Deli 2, from John Dunning's book Encyclopedia of Old-Time Radio, and from Wikipedia. For Old Time Radio researchers, I'm your announcer, Patrick Andre. Enjoy the show.
Section 10 of State of the Union Addresses by United States Presidents, 1909 to 1912. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. President William H. Taft, December 5, 1911. Part 4A. The White House, December 21, 1911. To the Senate and House of Representatives. The financial condition of the government, as shown at the close of the last fiscal year, June 30, 1911, was very satisfactory. The ordinary receipts into the general fund, excluding postal revenues, amounted to $701,372,374.99, and the disbursements from the general fund for current expenses and capital outlays, excluding postal and Panama Canal disbursements, including the interest on the public debt, amounted to $654,137,907.89, leaving a surplus of $47,234,377.10. The postal revenue receipts amounted to $237,879,823.60, while the payments made for the postal service from the postal revenues amounted to $237,660,705.48, which left a surplus of postal receipts over disbursements of $219,118.12, the first time in 27 years in which a surplus occurred. The interest-bearing debt of the United States, June 30, 1911, amounted to $915,353,190. The debt on which interest had ceased amounted to $1,879,830.26, and the debt bearing no interest, including greenbacks, national bank notes to be redeemed, and fractional currency, amounted to $386,751,917.43, or a total of interest and non-interest-bearing debt amounting to $1,303,984,937.69. The actual disbursements, exclusive of those for the Panama Canal and for the Postal Service, for the year ending June 30, 1911, were $654,137,997.89. The actual disbursements for the year ending June 30, 1910, exclusive of the Panama Canal and the Postal Service disbursements, were $659,705,391.08, making a decrease of $5,567,393.19 in yearly expenditures in the year 1911 under that of 1910. For the year ending June 30th, 1912, the estimated receipts, exclusive of the postal revenues, are $666 million, while the total estimates, exclusive of those for the Panama Canal and the postal expenditures payable from the postal revenues, amount to $645,842,799.34. This is a decrease in the 1912 estimates from that of the 1911 estimates of $1,534,367.22. For the year ending June 30th, 1913, The estimated receipts, exclusive of the postal revenues, are $667 million, while the total estimated appropriations, exclusive of the Panama Canal and postal disbursements payable from postal revenues, will amount to $637,920,803.35. This is a decrease in the 1913 estimates from that of the 1912 estimates of $7,921,995.99. As to the postal revenues, the expansion of the business in that department, the normal increase in the post office, and the extension of the service will increase the outlay to the sum of $260,938,463. But as the department was self-sustaining this year, the Postmaster General is assured that next year the receipts will at least equal the expenditures and probably exceed them by more than the surplus of this year. It is fair and equitable, therefore, in determining the economy with which the government has been run, to exclude the transactions of a department like the Post Office Department, which relies for its support upon its receipts. In calculations heretofore made for comparison of economy in each year, it has been the proper custom only to include in the statement the deficit in the Post Office Department, which was paid out of the Treasury. A calculation of the actual increase in the expenses of government arising from the increase in the population and the general expansion of governmental functions, except those of the post office, for a number of years shows a normal increase of about 4% a year. By directing the exercise of great care to keep down the expenses and the estimates, we have succeeded in reducing the total disbursements each year. The credit of the United States. The credit of this government was shown to be better than that of any other government by the sale of the Panama Canal 3% bonds. These bonds did not give their owners the privilege of using them as a basis for banknote circulation, nor was there any other privilege extended to them which would affect their general market value. Their sale, therefore, measured the credit of the government. The premium which was realized upon the bonds made the actual interest rate of the transaction 2.909%. Efficiency and economy in the Treasury Department. In the Treasury Department, the efficiency and economy work has been kept steadily up. Provision is made for the elimination of 134 positions during the coming year. 267 statutory positions were eliminated during the last year in the Office of the Treasury in Washington, and 141 positions in the year 1910, making an elimination of 542 statutory positions since March 4, 1909. And this has been done without the discharge of anybody, because the normal resignations and deaths have been equal to the elimination of the places, a system of transfers having taken care of the persons whose positions were dropped out. In the field service of the department, too, 1,259 positions have been eliminated down to the present time, making a total net reduction of all Treasury positions to the number of 1,801. Meantime, the efficiency of the work of the department has increased. Monetary reform. A matter of first importance that will come before Congress for action at this session is monetary reform. The Congress has itself arranged an early introduction of this great question through the report of its Monetary Commission. This commission was appointed to recommend a solution of the banking and currency problems so long confronting the nation, and to furnish the facts and data necessary to enable the Congress to take action. The commission was appointed when an impressive and urgent popular demand for legislative relief suddenly arose out of the distressing situation of the people caused by the deplorable panic of 1907. The Congress decided that while it could not give immediately the relief required, it would provide a commission to furnish the means for prompt action at a later date. In order to do its work with thoroughness and precision, this commission has taken some time to make its report. The country is undoubtedly hoping for as prompt action on the report as the convenience of the Congress can permit. The recognition of the gross imperfections and marked inadequacy of our banking and currency system, even in our most quiet financial periods, is of long standing, and later there has matured a recognition of the fact that our system is responsible for the extraordinary devastation, waste, and business paralysis of our recurring periods of panic. Though the members of the Monetary Commission have for a considerable time been working in the open, and while large numbers of the people have been openly working with them, and while the press has largely noted and discussed this work as it has proceeded, so that the report of the Commission promises to represent a national movement, the details of the report are still being considered. I cannot, therefore, do much more at this time than commend the immense importance of monetary reform, urge prompt consideration and action when the Commission's report is received, and express my satisfaction that the plan to be proposed promises to embrace main features that, having met the approval of a great preponderance of the practical and professional opinion of the country, are likely to meet equal approval in Congress. It is exceedingly fortunate that the wise and undisputed policy of maintaining unchanged the main features of our banking system rendered it at once impossible to introduce a central bank, for a central bank would certainly have been resisted, and a plan into which it could have been introduced would probably have been defeated. But as a central bank could not be a part of the only plan discussed or considered, that troublesome question is eliminated, and ingenious and novel as the proposed National Reserve Association appears, it simply is a logical outgrowth of what is best in our present system, and is, in fact, the fulfillment of that system. Exactly how the management of that association should be organized is a question still open. It seems to be desirable that the banks which would own the association should, in the main, manage it. It will be an agency of the banks to act for them, and they can be trusted, better than anybody else, chiefly to conduct it. It is mainly bankers' work. But there must be some form of government supervision and ultimate control, and I favor a reasonable representation of the government in the management. I entertain no fear of the introduction of politics or of any undesirable influences from a properly measured government representation. I trust that all banks of the country, possessing the requisite standards, will be placed upon a footing of perfect equality of opportunity. Both the national system and the state system should be fairly recognized, leaving them eventually to coalesce, if that shall prove to be their tendency. But such evolution cannot develop impartially if the banks of one system are given or permitted any advantages of opportunity over those of the other system. And I trust also that the new legislation will carefully and completely protect and assure the individuality and the independence of each bank, to the end that any tendency there may ever be toward a consolidation of the money or banking power of the nation shall be defeated. It will always be possible, of course, to correct any features of the new law which may, in practice, prove to be unwise, so that while this law is sure to be enacted under conditions of unusual knowledge and authority, it also will include, it is well to remember, the possibility of future amendment. With the present prospects of this long-awaited reform encouraging us, it would be singularly unfortunate if this monetary question should by any chance become a party issue, and I sincerely hope it will not. The exceeding amount of consideration it has received from the people of the nation has been wholly nonpartisan, and the Congress set its nonpartisan seal upon it when the Monetary Commission was appointed. In commending the question to the favorable consideration of Congress, I speak for, and in the spirit of, the great number of my fellow citizens who, without any thought of party or partisanship, feel with remarkable earnestness that this reform is necessary to the interests of all the people. The War Department. There is now before Congress a bill, the purpose of which is to increase the efficiency and decrease the expense of the Army. It contains 4 principal features. First, a consolidation of the general staff with the adjutant generals and the inspector general's departments. Second, a consolidation of the quartermaster's department with the subsistence and the pay departments. Third, the creation of an Army Service Corps. And fourth, an extension of the enlistment period from 3 to 5 years. With the establishment of an Army Service Corps, as proposed in the bill, I am thoroughly in accord, and am convinced that the establishment of such a corps will result in a material economy and a very great increase of efficiency in the Army. It has repeatedly been recommended by me and my predecessors. I also believe that a consolidation of the Staff Corps can be made with a resulting increase in efficiency and economy, but not along the lines provided in the bill under consideration. I am opposed to any plan, the result of which would be to break up or interfere with the essential principles of the detail system in the Staff Corps established by the Act of February 2, 1901. And I am opposed to any plan the result of which would be to give to the officer selected as Chief of Staff, or to any other member of the General Staff Corps, greater permanency of office than he now has. Under the existing law, neither the Chief of Staff nor any other member of the General Staff Corps can remain in office for a period of more than 4 years, and there must be an interval of 2 years between successive tours of duty. The bill referred to provides that certain persons shall become permanent members of the General Staff Corps, and that certain others are subject to redetail without an interval of 2 years. Such provision is fraught with danger to the welfare of the Army and would practically nullify the main purpose of the law creating and the remainder of the text is missing. In making the consolidations, no reduction should be made in the total number of officers of the Army, of whom there are now too few to perform the duties imposed by law. I have in the past recommended an increase in the number of officers by 600 in order to provide sufficient officers to perform all classes of staff duty and to reduce the number of line officers detached from their commands. Congress at the last session increased the total number of officers by 200, but this is not enough. Promotion in the line of the Army is too slow. Officers do not attain command rank at an age early enough properly to exercise it. It would be a mistake further to retard this already slow promotion by throwing back into the line of the Army a number of high-ranking officers to be absorbed, as is provided in the, and the remainder of the text is missing. Another feature of the bill, which I believe to be a mistake, is the proposed increase in the term of enlistment from 3 to 5 years. I believe it would be better to enlist men for 6 years, release them at the end of 3 years from active service, and put them in reserve for the remaining 3 years. Reenlistments should be largely confined to the non-commissioned officers and other enlisted men in the skilled grades. This plan, by the payment of a comparatively small compensation during the 3 years of reserve, would keep a large body of men at the call of the government, trained and ready for, and the remainder of the text is missing. The Army of the United States is in good condition. It showed itself able to meet an emergency in the successful mobilization of an Army division of from 15,000 to 20,000 men, which took place along the border of Mexico during the recent disturbances in that country. The marvelous freedom from the ordinary camp diseases of typhoid fever and measles is referred to in the report of the Secretary of War and shows such an effectiveness in the sanitary regulations and treatment of the medical corps and in the discipline of the Army itself as to invoke the highest commendation. Memorial Amphitheater at Arlington. I beg to renew my recommendation of last year that the Congress appropriate for a memorial amphitheater at Arlington, Virginia, the funds required to construct it upon the plans already approved. The Panama Canal. The very satisfactory progress made on the Panama Canal last year has continued, and there is every reason to believe that the canal will be completed as early as the 1st of July, 1913, unless something unforeseen occurs. This is about 18 months before the time promised by the engineers. We are now near enough the completion of the canal to make it imperatively necessary that legislation should be enacted to fix the method by which the canal shall be maintained and controlled and the zone governed. The fact is that today there is no statutory law by authority of which the President is maintaining the government of the zone. Such authority was given in an amendment to the Spooner Act, which expired by the terms of its own limitation some years ago. Since that time, the government has continued, under the advice of the Attorney General, that in the absence of action by Congress, there is necessarily an implied authority on the part of the executive to maintain a government in a territory in which he has to see that the laws are executed. The fact that we have been able thus to get along during the important days of construction without legislation expressly formulating the government of the zone or delegating the creation of it to the President is not a reason for supposing that we may continue the same kind of a government after the construction is finished. The implied authority of the President to maintain a civil government in the zone may be derived from the mandatory direction given him in the original Spooner Act, by which he was commanded to build the canal. But certainly, now that the canal is about to be completed and to be put under a permanent management, there ought to be specific statutory authority for its regulation and control, and for the government of the zone, which we hold for the chief and main purpose of operating the canal. I fully concur with the Secretary of War that the problem is simply the management of a great public work, and not the government of a local republic, that every provision must be directed toward the successful maintenance of the canal as an avenue of commerce, and that all provisions for the government of those who live within the zone should be subordinate to the main purpose. The zone is 40 miles long and 10 miles wide. Now it has a population of 50,000 or 60,000. But as soon as the work of construction is completed, the towns which make up this population will be deserted, and only comparatively few natives will continue their residence there. The control of them ought to approximate a military government. One judge and 2 justices of the peace will be sufficient to attend to all the judicial and litigated business there is. With a few fundamental laws of Congress, the zone should be governed by the orders of the President, issued through the War Department as it is today. Provisions can be made for the guarantees of life, liberty, and property, but beyond those, the government should be that of a military reservation, managed in connection with this great highway of trade. Furnishing supplies and repairs. In my last annual message, I discussed at length the reasons for the government's assuming the task of furnishing to all ships that use the canal, whether our own naval vessels or others, the supplies of coal and oil and other necessities with which they must be replenished, either before or after passing through the canal, together with the dock facilities and repairs of every character. This it is thought wise to do through the government, because the government must establish for itself, for its own naval vessels, large depots and dry docks and warehouses, and these may easily be enlarged so as to secure to the world public using the canals reasonable prices and a certainty that there will be no discrimination between those who wish to avail themselves of such facilities. Tolls. I renew my recommendation with respect to the tolls of the canal, that within limits, which shall seem wise to Congress, the power of fixing tolls be given to the President. In order to arrive at a proper conclusion, there must be some experimenting, and this cannot be done if Congress does not delegate the power to one who can act expeditiously. Power exists to relieve American shipping. I am very confident that the United States has the power to relieve from the payment of tolls any part of our shipping that Congress deems wise. We own the canal. It was our money that built it. We have the right to charge tolls for its use. Those tolls must be the same to everyone, but when we are dealing with our own ships, the practice of many governments of subsidizing their own merchant vessels is so well established in general that a subsidy equal to the tolls, an equivalent remission of tolls, cannot be held to be a discrimination in the use of the canal. The practice in the Suez Canal makes this clear. The experiment in tolls to be made by the President would doubtless disclose how great a burden of tolls the coastwise trade between the Atlantic and the Pacific coast could bear without preventing its usefulness in competition with the transcontinental railroads. One of the chief reasons for building the canal was to set up this competition and to bring the two shores closer together as a practical trade problem. It may be that the tolls will have to be wholly remitted. I do not think this is the best principle, because I believe that the cost of such a government work as the Panama Canal ought to be imposed gradually but certainly upon the trade which it creates and makes possible. So far as we can, consistent with the development of the world's trade through the canal and the benefit which it was intended to secure to the East and West coastwise trade, we ought to labor to secure from the canal tolls a sufficient amount ultimately to meet the debt which we have assumed and to pay the interest. The Philippine Islands. In respect to the Philippines, I urgently join in the recommendation of the Secretary of War that the Act of February 6, 1905, limiting the indebtedness that may be incurred by the Philippine government for the construction of public works, be increased from $5 million to $15 million. The finances of that government are in excellent condition. The maximum sum mentioned is quite low as compared with the amount of indebtedness of other governments with similar resources, and the success which has attended the expenditure of the $5 million in the useful improvements of the harbors and other places in the islands justifies and requires additional expenditures for like purposes. Naturalization. I also join in the recommendation that the legislature of the Philippine Islands be authorized to provide for the naturalization of Filipinos and others who by the present law are treated as aliens, so as to enable them to become citizens of the Philippine Islands. Friars' lands. Pending an investigation by Congress at its last session through one of its committees into the disposition of the friars' lands, Secretary Dickinson directed that the friars' lands should not be sold in excess of the limits fixed for the public lands until Congress should pass upon the subject or should have concluded its investigation. This order has been an obstruction to the disposition of the lands, and I expect to direct the Secretary of War to return to the practice under the opinion of the Attorney General, which will enable us to dispose of the lands much more promptly, and to prepare a sinking fund with which to meet the $7 million of bonds issued for the purchase of the lands. I have no doubt whatever that the Attorney General's construction was a proper one, and that it is in the interest of everyone that the land shall be promptly disposed of. The danger of creating a monopoly of ownership in lands under the statutes as construed is nothing. There are only 2 tracts of 60,000 acres each, unimproved and in remote provinces, that are likely to be disposed of in bulk, and the rest of the lands are subject to the limitation that they shall be first offered to the present tenants and lessors who hold them in small tracts. End of Part 4A.
Another 5-minute mystery.
afternoon. Mr. Randall, just a moment, please.
Randall speaking.
Hello, Jim. This is Tony, Mary's brother.
Well, Tony, my boy, how are you?
Oh, fine as silk. Just flew in from Cleveland for the big race at Diamond Track.
Welcome to New York. Where are you now, Tony?
Down at the track. Thought we could drive out to your home tonight and surprise my sister. I haven't seen her in a couple of years.
That's swell. Give me a call when you get back in the city, and we'll drive out together. Mary will be thrilled.
Be sure not to tell her I'm in town. I want to surprise her.
Okay, Tony. See you later. Here we are, Tony.
Hey, your place looks swell, John. You've done a lot of work on it since I was last here.
Yes, Mary and I have worked hard on this property. I can't wait to see Mary's face when she sees you.
Neither can I.
Mary! Hello, Mary. Darling, where are you?
Maybe she went out to the store or a friend's house.
Well, not Mary. She makes a point of being here when I get home. Or else she tells me where she'll be.
You're a lucky guy.
I'll say. Hello, Mary. I'll look here in the sitting room. Mary! Mary!
Hold it, John. There's nothing we can do. She's dead. John, you've got to pull yourself together. The inspector will be here any minute.
Pour me a drink, will you, Tony? I'll be all right, I guess. I'll go. Inspector?
Yes, Inspector Abbott.
Come in, Mr. Abbott. I'm John Randall. This is my wife's brother, Anthony Marin.
Inspector.
How do you do? I'm sorry about your wife, Mr. Randall.
Thanks, Inspector.
I don't want to seem cold-blooded, Mr. Randall, but we may as well begin the investigation.
Well, my wife's in here, Inspector.
Not a pretty sight. One bullet through the left temple. No sign of a struggle. Your wife must have been resting, which gave the murderer a perfect opportunity. I should say she's been dead for at least 3 hours.
Did the end come quickly, Inspector?
Yes, I'm sure she never knew a thing. Where were you, Mr. Randall, this afternoon around 3 o'clock?
At the Midston building where I work. I made one business call over on the east side. Had an appointment at 2:30. I took about an hour.
I see. And you, Mr. Marin?
I flew in from Cleveland this morning. Arrived at about 1:30 and went straight to the Diamond Racetrack.
Yes, Inspector. Tony called me from the track shortly before I left the office.
I can't believe that Mary's gone. Who could have wanted to murder her?
I haven't had the time to figure out the reason why, but I know who did the murder.
Inspector Abbott, you mean that...
I mean that Anthony Marin murdered his own sister.
What was the clue that led Inspector Abbott to accuse Tony Marin of murder? In a moment, the inspector will tell you. But first... story.
Mr. Marin became an immediate suspect when he telephoned you, Mr. Randall, from the Diamond Racetrack. It is ironic indeed that you had advance knowledge of his mistake. Perhaps murder could have been avoided had you known that at racetracks there are no public telephones.
Right now, in response to an SOS from one of Hoppy's old friends, Jim Dodge, Hoppy and California are entering the office of Dodge's attorney, Sam Conway, in the little cow town of Pocorillo.
Morning. You Mr. Conway?
No, sir. I'm Max Shively, Mr. Conway's law clerk. Is there anything I can do?
My name is Hopalong Cassidy. This is my partner.
Of course, Mr. Cassidy. We were expecting you. Right this way, sir. Follow me. Mr. Conway is in his private office. Just get into town?
Yeah.
It's Mr. Cassidy. He and,
Carlson. California Carlson.
Come in. Sit down.
Thanks. I have a letter from Jim Dodge. He wrote me you'd show us how to get to his ranch, the Lazy D.
Yes, of course. I'd take you there myself if my horse wasn't over at the blacksmith shop right now, but it's easy enough to get there. I certainly hope you can do Jim some good.
Well, to tell you the truth, Mr. Conway, I didn't quite understand from his letter just what his trouble is. Except that he seems pretty desperate about meeting payments on a loan.
Yes, the old man's had some mighty bad breaks lately. Since the drought hit this area, his cattle have been dying like flies.
Drought? Why, that rain we just rid through didn't seem like any drought to me.
Mr. Carlson, that was the first rain we've had in months. And it's only a drop in the bucket compared to what we need.
You don't say.
From the looks of that blazing sun outside, I'd be surprised if it rained again for another long stretch. That's why Mr. Dodge borrowed money enough from the Valley Range Association to put in a new irrigation system.
So he wrote me. The trouble seems to be that if he doesn't complete the irrigation project in another 5 weeks, he loses the ranch.
Unfortunately, that's true. Unless he pays off the loan, of course. I've been doing my level best to get an extension. But with all these accidents he's been having,
That's another thing, Mr. Conway. Jim doesn't think they were accidents.
Well, you can't blame the old man for being suspicious, Mr. Cassidy. I suspected foul play myself when the scaffolding on the new dam collapsed.
Killed 3 of his men, I understand.
Yes, that's right. 2 more died just yesterday in a premature explosion of some dynamite. The sheriff investigated both times, and pretty thoroughly, too. But there doesn't seem to be anything to point to the possibility of foul play.
Are you pretty familiar with these men working for Dodge? Is there any chance that 1 or 2 might be, working undercover for other interests?
You mean for the Valley Range Association? No, Mr. Cassidy, hardly. It's an Eastern-controlled outfit. They'd be above all that sort of thing. However, since you bring it up...
Yeah, go on.
I don't like to cast suspicion, but Dodge and his ranch foreman, Charlie Garrett, haven't been on the best of terms lately.
Why not? What's Garrett got against him?
You.
Me? What do you mean?
I think Charlie's feelings were hurt when he found that his boss was calling on an outsider for help, or so it seems.
I see. Well, I hope those accidents were accidents, Mr. Conway. Because if they weren't, somebody is going to hang. For murder.
With a series of mysterious accidents caused Jim Dodge to call on Hoppy for help. After stopping in the sun-baked town of Pocorillo for a talk with Dodge's lawyer, Sam Conway, Hoppy and California take the South Fork that leads to the ranch.
Tarnation, Hoppy. We should have stuck to the wagon trail like Conway said. This here's the wildest, loneliest country I ever seen.
It may be wild, but from the looks of that rider heading this way, I wouldn't say it was lonely.
Hey, he's riding bareback. And that long black hair looks like an Injun.
Probably is. Jim Dodge uses them to help hurt his stock.
Buenos dias, senor.
Howdy. We're trying to find the Lazy D ranch house.
It's 5 miles, but you find no one there.
What?
The men are all looking for boss, Senor Dodge. Have you seen old man with white hair?
We're looking for Jim Dodge ourselves. What happened?
Queen Sabe, he ride out this morning and his horse come in without him. Senor Garrett, the foreman, he ordered everybody out for search.
Mr. Dodge was expecting us. I'm Hopalong Cassidy.
Me, Jose Blackfeather. Keep Craig behind you and you arrive at ranch house muy pronto. Hasta luego.
Come on, Topper.
Maybe we ought to help look for the old man, Hoppy.
Well, there's always a chance of him making his way back while everybody's out searching. Let's find the ranch house first.
Yeah. Man, you sure don't see many cattle around this spread.
Well, you can't expect to build much of a herd on cactus and sagebrush. Whoa.
What is it?
Over there. Lying at the foot of that Joshua tree.
Hmm? Yeah, a man. White-haired. Hoppy, Hoppy, is it Dodge?
Yeah, he's dead.
That's a bullet hole, Hoppy. He's been shot.
Yeah, murdered. Some low-down sidewinder dry-gulched him.
Well, we've been here at the Lazy D for 3 days, and the sheriff don't seem to be getting any nearer to figuring who killed Jim Dodge.
Yeah, no.
Hoppy, you've been sitting here all morning, going through papers in the old man's desk. What are you trying to find?
I'm trying to find who owns this ranch now that he's dead.
I can tell you that.
Oh, hello, Garrett. Come in.
The Valley Range Association owns it. Well, they will in less than 5 weeks from now.
I wouldn't be too sure about that. I just wrote them yesterday about extending that loan. Ah, nice rifle you have there. 270, eh? Been hunting?
Yeah. They've been hunting a polecat while you and Carlson been hanging around the ranch house acting like you owned the place.
Now, take it easy, mister. Hoppy only...
Simmer down, California. It's all right.
Well...
Any luck, Garrett? Any closer to that polecat than you were yesterday?
A lot closer, Cassidy. I found the prints made in the mud.
Prints?
Yeah. Made by his horse when he rode out of the creek after trying to hide his trail. His footprints, too. And the prints of an unshod horse.
The only folks I know who don't shoe their horses are Injuns.
Exactly. Kind of narrows down the search. So if you boys aren't too busy, we'll go out and find the sneaking redskin who killed Jim Dodge.
Look, Garrett, I know how you feel. But I've only been doing the job Jim wanted me to do. Getting the business end of the irrigation project in shape.
Who in thunder are you doing it for? The Valley Range Association?
No, for you.
What?
It's your ranch, Garrett. Jim Dodge left it to you.
What?
It's in this will I found in his desk. Here.
Let's see.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Oh, morning, Mr. Conway.
I couldn't help overhearing. It seems I've arrived just in time to bring a bit of disappointment.
What?
That will you're reading, Garrett. It's been changed.
Changed?
I'm afraid so. Just recently. Mr. Dodge filed it in my office. That's what I've come to see you about, gentlemen. I've brought it with me. A will leaving everything to the granddaughter of a cousin of his. Miss Kay Darling of Chicago.
May I see it?
Here you are. Jim Dodge was her godfather. Always remembered the girl, though he hadn't seen her in years.
You mean a gal is going to be running this outfit?
That was his wish. He left it to her.
Well, that settles that, I guess. If you push this irrigation system through on time, Cassidy, I hope she appreciates it.
Let's see now. Jim Dodge was hit about there and staggered a couple of steps and fell here.
Doggone it, Hoppy. We've been over this place where Jim was killed a dozen times. Just what do you expect to find?
Let's see. The slug entered here, angled down, came out here and back. Hit the ground about here. Well, it couldn't have penetrated very deep in the sand.
Well, at least now we know from which direction the shot was fired. From over by the creek. And I guess that kind of proves that the engine riding that unshod pony fired the shot.
Ah, here. Here's the slug, California.
That don't look like no bullet from a 30-30.
It isn't. It's from a 270.
A 270? Well, I'll be...
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. An Indian isn't likely to be owning a high-powered rifle like a 270 around these parts.
No, but Charlie Garrett's got one.
Suppose we mosey on back to the creek and have another look at those hoof and footprints he found in the mud there. Here they are.
Yeah. That sun really baked him in that mud.
Well, it looks to me, California, the killer stood behind a painted rock upstream a piece and shot Jim from there.
Yeah, he must have rid out of the water about here. He dismounted and kind of looked around to see if there was anyone who might have seen or heard the shooting.
Right. California, have you had a real close look at these hoof prints?
Why, sure. Oh.
See what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean, all right.
Guess we've seen enough of the hoof print. So I want to study this footprint.
What are you doing?
I'm carving out one of these footprints from the baked mud. I'll see if we can get some plaster of Paris over at the vets in Pocorea and make a permanent impression of the killer's footprint. Might come in handy. Who knows?
All right, you boys, keep that herd bunched up. Hey, Hoppy, look who's coming. That lawyer feller, Sam Conway.
Hi there, Mr. Conway. What's the good word?
I'm afraid I haven't any, Cassidy. I just got word from the Valley Range Association. They turned me down on extending the loan.
Well, we'll just have to get that irrigation system done on time, that's all.
I hope you do. Say, I just got a message that your new boss, Kay Darling, arrived this morning on the spur line at Pocorio.
What?
Yes, quite unexpected.
I see. She probably wants us to send a buckboard over to take her out to the ranch.
Jumping bullfrogs. What the dickens is that coming this way? That cloud of dust sounds like shooting.
Whatever it is, if it comes any closer, it'll stampede the herd. Jackson, Roberts, ride close on that herd.
Good heavens! It's one of those new horseless carriages I've been reading about.
They're stampeding. It's no use now, Hoppy.
Oh, that crazy fool. A whole week's work shot to pieces. I've been rounding up the stock so we can sell some.
What?
We've got to sell some, Conway, if that pipeline's going to be finished on time. Ah, well, look at 'em. It'll take over another week to round those steers up again.
Doggone, that's the first time I ever seen one of those horseless contraptions. Look at it. Sitting there a-smoking and a-steaming. Come on, let's have a look, huh?
Wait till I give that loco driver a piece of my mind.
Boy, looks like a buggy without no whiffle trees or a horse. Well, yeah, look at the way that driver's bundled up in them goggles and that white coat and cap. In this heat, too. He must be loco.
Mister, haven't you any better sense than to highball that thing into a herd of cows? I got a good mind to pin your ears back.
Ah, the hospitality of the West. How refreshing.
Look, it's a gal.
You must be Miss Darling.
An amazing deduction. I decided to drive here in my new Duryea special and save you gentlemen the trouble of escorting me. I simply despise horses.
I thought you come in on the train.
I had my car brought over with me on a flat car.
I'm Sam Conway, Miss Darling.
Oh, yes, my late relative's attorney. The chairman of your welcoming committee was just about to pin my ears back.
Mr. Cassidy is a great joker. Oh,
Miss Darling, it just happens that we spent a full week rounding up those steers, and you came along.
Round them up again. And while you're about it, round up everything else as well, because I'm going to sell the ranch.
What?
You know, sell. Get money.
You mean you're going to walk out on the people who've lived here all their lives, the ranch hands, the herdsmen, their families?
If you object too much, Mr. Cassidy, you can always leave, remember? In the meantime, take my bags over to the ranch house while Mr. Conway shows me the place. Here, take these 3 here.
I see. Conway, if you'll hand California one of those suitcases, I'll take the other one and that small makeup bag with it.
which one?
The black metal in there.
Hoppy, isn't that Charlie Garrett heading this way?
Yeah, he's riding like something was after him.
I smell trouble.
Hoppy! Oh!
Garrett, what's the matter?
I told you it was no use. The whole west side of the hill anchoring the pipeline's fallen into the arroyo.
What?
Somebody up in the hills used dynamite to start an avalanche.
Come on, California. Let's get on over there. Come on.
In spite of the murder of his old friend Jim Dodge, who owned the Lazy D, and the arrival of its new owner, Kay Darling, who wants to sell it, Hoppy sticks to his determination of putting through the irrigation project that will save the ranch from foreclosure. We find him in California at the site of the latest disaster, an avalanche burying the pipeline.
Horse roll! Move the horses out of the way there. Hold on, 5 seconds, clear.
Looks like the pipeline is completely buried. We'll never dig it up in time.
Never mind the pipeline. Are the men all out of danger?
I think so.
Jose Blackfeather, he's missing.
Great guns, Huffy, I forgot. I sent Jose up there to recover some tools before the blast hit.
We got to get him down. Let's go, Popper.
Huffy, don't be a fool. Come back here.
Hoppy, wait for me.
You'll never make it.
He'll be killed.
are you?
Over here, California. The other side of this boulder. Dismount and walk easy. Won't take much to start another avalanche.
Yeah. Did you find Jose?
Yeah. He's lying here.
Oh. Hurt bad?
Yeah, pretty bad. But not by the avalanche. He's been shot.
What?
Yeah. Jose must have caught the man in the act of setting off the blast that started the slide. Probably tried to stop him and was shot down. Jose. Jose, can you hear me? Jose.
She.
Who shot you, Jose? Who was it? Jose.
Senor.
Jose. He's dead.
Poor devil. Oh, tarnation, Hoppy. We can't let the coyote who did this get away with it.
Well, I've been wrong twice already.
What?
For a while, I figured it was Jose who killed Jim. Then, from a letter I got this morning, I figured it was Sam Conway who was behind all these accidents. But Conway was right beside us when the avalanche was set off, so he couldn't have been the one.
That leaves only one, Hoppy. Charlie Garrett.
I don't know. Garrett has a dozen witnesses to prove he was working on the dam below when that blast started the avalanche. No, there are a few things that still need explaining.
Yeah, I reckon.
I'm going to have to go around to a few blacksmith shops tomorrow and ask a few questions. Come on, California. Help me get Jose down from here.
Hoppy, that was about the bravest thing I've ever seen anybody do. Going after that poor man.
Frankly, I think there must be a madman loose. A homicidal maniac.
Could be you're right, Mr. Conway. First, those cowboys getting killed by that so-called accident. And Jim Dodge murdered. Now Jose Blackfeather. Jose gave his life for the Lazy D, Miss Darling.
I know. And my name is Kay.
Do you still want to sell and turn these people out of their homes?
Oh, come now, Cassidy. What choice is there? It'll be impossible to finish the project now, don't you think? Better sell for what you can get for it now rather than lose everything by waiting.
But we can finish the project on time. With 3 more carloads of pipe to replace that buried by the avalanche, we can make it. Kay, do I have your permission to sell part of the herd so we can get that pipe?
But this is ridiculous. You'll never be able
All right.
What?
California, tell Garrett to order that pipe.
You bet. Miss Darling, can I talk to you alone?
I have an awful headache, Mr. Conway, if you don't mind.
Very well. I'll talk to you later.
Hoppy, I didn't know there was murder mixed up in this.
Well, now you know.
Well, I don't think I like it here. Maybe I ought to sell. The Valley Range Association is offering a fair price.
There's something else you ought to know. Jim Dodge once wrote me that whenever he dug a well around here, all he ever got was salt water or tar.
Tar?
Yeah. The avalanche opened up a couple of crevices with more of that black stuff oozing out. Only I've got a hunch it isn't tar at all.
No?
No. It's oil.
Hoppy, I've been looking for you. The cook brought in some letters from Poco Rio this morning. One's for you. Here, from Abilene.
Much obliged, California.
I sent the boys to wait for the train when she pulls into Poco Rio. We'll need every wagon on the place to haul the pipe from the station. Hey, listen. There she comes. We'll see her when she comes through the canyon down below.
Yeah.
That letter, not bad news, I hope.
No, not for us. You see, Hey, wait a minute.
Oh, what's the matter?
Look, those 2 hombres way down there below in the canyon at the mouth of the railroad tunnel.
Yeah. They're getting on their horses. What the tarnation they doing there?
I don't know, but I don't like it.
There comes the train around the bend, and those 2 mavericks are skedaddling up the side of the canyon.
They blew up the tunnel. Come on, California. Let's get those sidewinders. I'll take the one with the rifle. Your man's running up the canyon. Head him off. You're going to have to shoot a lot better than that to get me, mister. Come on, Popper. Let's get it.
back to Hopalong Cassidy.
All right, stand up, you murdering polecat, and let's get that bandana off your face. I want a good look at you. So, Conway.
Yes, Conway. Surprised?
Not too much, since I rode east and found out that you are the Valley Range Association and nobody else.
Live and learn, Cassidy.
Mighty brave, aren't you, to murder an old man who trusted you.
You mean I killed Jim Dodge? You're crazy. What proof have you got?
For one thing, that rifle of yours. Caliber .270, I see. The same high-powered job that killed Mr. Dodge.
You call that proof? There are lots of rifles like mine.
I got him, Hoppy, I got him. Roped him like a dogie.
Max Shively, eh? Your so-called law clerk, eh, Conway?
You can't pin a murder on me, Cassidy. One of those Indians Dodge hired killed him. All the evidence points to it.
That's what you tried to make us think. But you forgot one little thing, Conway. When you took the shoes off your pony, you overlooked the nail holes in his hoofs. They showed up perfectly in that mud.
Hoppy, don't miss a thing.
And another thing. The morning we arrived, you happened to mention your horse was in the blacksmith shop, remember? Well, I found that blacksmith, Conway. He says he had to put on a full set of shoes to replace the ones you'd pulled off.
He's lying. I can explain that.
Can you? Then maybe you can explain those footprints you made when you scouted around to make sure nobody saw you shoot Dodge. Let's have that plaster of Paris imprint from the saddlebag, California.
Yeah, here you are, Hoppy.
Raise your right foot, Conway.
Now, look, boys, we can make a deal.
Raise it, I said. Yeah. Well, there it is. A perfect fit.
Aye, that dirty...
Look, you can't mix me up in this. I had nothing to do with Dodge's murder. It was all Conway's idea. He knew there was oil on Dodge's land, and he wanted to get
fool! You were in with me in this up to the hills. It was you who killed that Indian when he caught you setting off the avalanche.
That's a lie. I can explain everything.
Tell it to the jury, the both of you. All right, let's get going.
Those skunks sure look good behind bars.
Well, I guess I owe you two hombres a lot of thanks, both for myself and Miss Darling, Hoppy.
The only thanks you owe us is for yourself, Garrett.
Huh? What do you mean?
Hey, look what's heading this way. Miss Darling in her horseless buggy.
Hey, Miss Darling, where are you? Hey, Miss Darling! Hey!
She sure seems in a hurry, don't she?
Yeah, and I don't think she's coming back either.
Huh? What do you mean?
That will Conway showed us was a fake, Garrett.
What?
He hired this girl to pose as a relative of the old man and then rigged up a forged will, leaving the stuff to her.
Well, I'll be dag blessed.
See, it was that makeup bag of hers that got me suspicious. Only an actress would carry around a case like that. So I wrote the address on the bag, and it turned out to be the L. Campbell Theater in Abilene.
So the mother?
After she found out there was murder mixed up in it, I don't think she wanted to be any part of it.
You mean the Lazy D now belongs...
To you, Garrett. It's all yours. Well, come on, California. It's time we were heading back to the home spread.
You bet.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm cutting you two in for a share in the Lazy D right now.
Thanks just the same, partner, but I couldn't be tied down with the responsibility myself.
Me neither. I'd rather stay happy.
Happiness has one great advantage over wealth, Garrett. Your friends don't try to borrow it. Come on, California, let's ride.
About our story.
Well, it's one called Gunfighter in Short Pants and began one morning as California and I are on our way back to the Bar 20 after delivering some brood mares to a rancher near Albuquerque, New Mexico. We'd crossed the range of low mountains and stopped to water our horses at the headwaters of Yaqui Creek. California was proving himself a giant in the field of tall tales. So far, I'd listened to his exploits with Wild Bill Hickok, Wyatt Earp, and Bat Masterson. Then he worked up to Sheriff Pat Garrett.
Hoppy, you'll never believe it, but Pat and me was closer than two armadillos in one shell. Why, Pat depended on me plumb total. How do you think he got his reputation?
Well, shooting Billy the Kid helped a little.
Yeah, sure it did. Only who do you think really shot the kid?
Oh, now wait, California.
Me, California Carlson, that's who. Two Gun Carlson in them days, deadliest gunslinger west of the Pico.
Sit tight, you two, or I'll put the next one on the seat of Grandpappy's britches.
Grandpappy? Grandpappy? Why, I'll show you. I'll... Hoppy. Well, doggone, it's just a boy.
Yeah. Hey, son, aren't you a little young to be so unfriendly?
I'll be 14 come spring. Why are you here?
Oh, we were just watering our horses and getting ready to move on.
You're ready. Yes.
Young'un, you're acting mighty smart.
Smarter than you whiskered old armadillo.
Armadillo? Why, I'm smarter. I got plenty of brains.
Yeah? In which head?
Why,
California, stop it.
Good thing. One more move toward me and I'd have bored him.
Grandpappy, armadillo, which head? Hoppy, a man's got to draw the line someplace.
Not when a rifle's pointing at his breakfast, he doesn't. Say, you've been crying, haven't you, son?
Ain't been crying. Only women crying. I'm a man. Now you get.
Beasley! Beasley, where are you?
Uh-oh. You two stick. Man needs help when a woman's around.
Beasley! What are you doing with that rifle? Who are these men?
How many times I gotta tell you my name's Beans? And I reckon Pappy don't need his rifle now, so it's mine.
Beans. I'm sorry. But you should be home.
I ain't no kid. So stop fussing over me like an old hand.
Miss, I'm Hopalong Cassidy.
How do you do? I'm Maud Allen.
This is California Carlson. Is there anything wrong? Maybe we can help.
No, I guess not. Oh, this is Beasley. Beans Donowell. His father he passed away a few days ago, and I've been staying to take care of things.
Pappy didn't pass no place. He was killed by that devil Drago.
Beans!
It's true. And I don't care if Drago has been sparking you. He swore to get Pappy for settling on the headwaters of Yaqui Creek. So we shot him in the back. Pappy was a good man. Always treated me fine. Never even made me go to school.
Nah, don't cry, Beans. Maybe we can help you.
I ain't crying. I ain't.
No, of course you ain't. Poor little kid. I didn't savvy. You know what? You can ride my horse back to your house.
I'll do worse than kick next time. Now back up, all of you.
Son, waving that gun around won't bring your dad back.
Maybe it won't, mister, but I guess that I'm the only Donowell left now. Not very old, but I'm big enough to see that Drago don't get away with shooting my Pappy.
But that's for the law to handle, son. Now put the gun down.
I ain't arguing the point. You all stay put until I'm out of sight. Got no reason to shoot you. I sure will if you try and stop me.
Beans, what are you going to do?
I'm going to take my rifle and Pappy's binoculars and pack into the hills, where I can watch Drago's house. You can warn him for me. The first time I catch him riding alone, I'm going to bushwhack him.
Now, back to Hopalong Cassidy and our story, Gunfighter in Short Pants. Hoppy and California, stopping to rest their horses at the headwaters of Yaqui Creek, were confronted by Beans Donnerwell, a 13-year-old boy whose father had just been killed by an unknown assailant. They tried to calm down the angry boy, but keeping them at the point of his rifle, Beans runs off, intent on taking his own vengeance on Drago, the man he believes responsible for his father's death.
Hoppy, are we going to chase that little monster? He might shoot someone.
It won't help matters to have the kid taking shots at us. No, Beans just needs time to cool off. Then we can make him understand it's wrong to take the law into his own hands.
Well, this is just dandy. A fine pair of men afraid of a little boy.
With a great big gun? Yes. That rifle's man-sized. And I reckon his corpses would be, too. Hoppy's right.
Miss Maud, did Drago threaten Donnerwell?
Well, yes. But Donnerwell was deliberately trying to cause trouble. settling on this quarter section around the headwaters of Yaqui Creek. He told Drago he'd dam off the creek the first time Drago made him mad.
The creek feeds the entire range below. Drago own it?
Practically. But Drago's no back shooter.
If Donnerwell was in a position to ruin him, I'd say the kid was right. Drago killed to save his water supply.
He didn't. Oh, you're awful, both of you. First you're afraid to trail the boy, now you're accusing an innocent man.
Oh, now, look, Miss Maud, we wasn't...
I heard you, and you'd better ride on before Drago hears of this.
You ain't giving us a chance to explain.
I heard all I want to hear.
Hey, wait. Come back. It'll be dangerous to trail the kid while he's riled up. I wonder when I'll learn not to argue with women. Ain't you sort of unconcerned about being called a coward?
Oh, the girl's excited. We'll do something more practical. We'll warn this Mr. Drago to keep his nose indoors for a few days. By that time, maybe Beans will be hungry enough to come home.
Hoppy, I hope this Drago's more gentle than the rest of the people in this country. If a boy and a gal are as unfriendly as we found them, what's a man going to be like?
We'll soon know. Drago should appreciate being warned anyway.
I hope you're right. I hate being buried. There's a mistake.
Well, here's his ranch house. I wonder if he's home. Hello in there.
Yes, Rangers? What's your pleasure?
We have a message from Mr. Drago. You him?
No. But you can tell me.
Sorry. I'd like to see Drago personally.
Oh? You the law?
Nope.
You got nice guns. On the dodge?
Where's Drago?
Maybe you're riding grub line.
And maybe we're Apaches in the warpath, but we ain't.
Well, lawyer, what have we here? A gunslinger and a stove-up cowpoke. Tramps, by my guess.
I'm Hopalong Cassidy. This is California Carlson. If you're Drago, we got a warning for you.
Huh? Advance guard for the nesters, huh? Get rid of them, lawyer.
You got the wrong burr under your saddle. We're not from any nesters, but a kid who's waiting to bushwhack you.
You don't hear so well. Drago wants you to leave.
Wait. Go on, Cassidy. Who's the kid?
You can guess. It's Beans Donnerwell. He thinks you shot his father.
Beans? You mean... Oh, no. You're warning me about a kid in short pants. Me, Drago, being threatened by a dirty-faced brat. Say, that's a rich one.
Oh, I say, Aunt, must you bellow like a sick buffalo? Oh, your yelling gets annoying after a while. I don't know why I stick around.
You like to eat, that's why. Cassidy Carlson, my nephew, Junior Holland.
Hi.
Howdy.
Oh, my pleasure, gentlemen.
I'm holding a baile tomorrow night, Cassidy. It's Junior's birthday. I reckon you've earned an invite.
Thanks, but all we came for was to be sure you wouldn't go riding where Beans might take a shot at you.
No ragtail kid is scaring me into a hole. I ride where and when I please. But you can tell him I didn't pot his old man. Much as I hated the cuss for getting me over the barrel.
Why did he settle up there? Even if he did have you where he wanted you, he couldn't take advantage of it.
He couldn't. But the nesters that he was the leader of could. He was going to force me to let them settle part of my ranch.
Well, it's open range. They could settle it anyway.
Not without a whale of a fight, they couldn't. Old Donnerwell knew I'd run the nesters off unless he had a way to keep me still.
All right, come on, California. We have to warn a boy about a man.
Hoppy, we've been looking for that kid for 5 hours. It's getting dark, and I'm soaked plumb to my bad temper.
Yeah, we got to find him, California. With Drago acting bullheaded, we have to get the boy. I only hope he doesn't shoot before we can talk to him.
You're real inspiring company. If we're lucky,
Dismount. Find cover.
Oh! Don't shoot. We're friends.
Keep your head down.
No, I'm glad you thought of that.
And put that gun up. We're not shooting at scared boys.
Oh, it's just a hefting it for comfort, that's all. Hey, he's quit.
Wait a minute. Maybe he's reloading. Beans! Beans!
No answer. Maybe he's mad at us. Hoppy, your arm, you're hit.
It's just a flesh wound. I'm all right. I guess our friend has left for good. One way to be sure, though.
Hoppy, hey, get down, you darned idiot.
He's gone. Looks like we won't get to talk to Beans.
Blasted hero. Someday you're going to give me heart failure pulling a trick like that. And what... look out, he's behind us.
Hiya, fellas.
Hi, fellas. Hoppy, did you hear him? He empties a Winchester at us and comes in to say, hi, fellas.
I didn't empty no Winchester. I heard the shooting and came to see who was doing it.
Beans, are you sure? Well, if you didn't, who did?
If I'd emptied my rifle, you two would have been dead. Honest, Mr. Cassidy, I ain't really a gunfighter. The only hombre I'd shoot at is the man who shot Pappy.
Ever think you may be hunting down the wrong man, Beans? I can't say I like Drago much, but he doesn't look like a cowardly bushwhacker.
I got proof. I ain't showed it to nobody, but I got it. Look at this. I found it next to Pappy's body.
A gold watch fob. Drago's name worked in it. Yeah, that's pretty good proof, I guess. No, look here.
Yeah, someone sliced through that soft gold.
It didn't break off. It was planted by someone.
It still could have been Drago.
Yeah, it could. But does it figure that a smart hombre like Drago would leave his signature like this?
Maybe so, maybe not. What's your interest, anyway?
Let's say I like seeing the law handle things. It's the only right way. Will you give us a couple of days, Beans?
You're going to investigate Pappy's death?
That's right. Believe me, son, we're on your side. I understand how you feel.
I think maybe you do. You're about the first man that didn't treat me like dirt, because Pappy was a nester.
Just 2 days, and when we find the bushwhacker, we'll talk about how he should be punished. Is it a promise?
I promise. I won't do nothing for 2 days.
Good. Now you go home and get dried off. Let's go, California.
Some shindig, eh, Hoppy? Here comes Miss Moore.
Hello, Mr. Cassidy. Carlson.
Evening, Miss Maud. Well, what?
Yes. The black eye. Should have taken your advice and not trailed Beans.
What happened?
I caught him. Tried to take his gun away, and he poked me one. Served me right.
He was pretty worked up.
Hello there, Hoppy, California. Did I hear you mention Beans Donnerwell?
Yeah, why?
Oh, I just caught sight of him hanging around outside.
What? I'd better find Drago quick.
Well, he's on the terrace. The side porch to you.
I've heard the word.
Eh? Well, I was afraid English was becoming the new dead language.
Stay here, California. I'll find Drago. Tell Miss Maud how you shot Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid? Why, I thought Pat Garrett shot him.
Drago, you better come inside a minute.
What for? Come on and join me for a smoke.
It's not safe out here.
Oh, now, don't tell me I'm about to be shot.
Drago!
Now, back to Hopalong Cassidy and our story, Gunfighter in Short Pants. Hoppy obtained young Beans Donnerwell's promise to do nothing about revenging his father's death for 2 days, while Hoppy investigated. But the next night, Beans was seen outside Drago's house shortly before Drago was shot by someone out in the dark. Fortunately, Drago was only wounded when the bullet glanced from a silver concho on his vest. And now, in his bedroom, Hoppy is talking to him.
You're a lucky man, Drago. How do you feel?
I'm all right, except for a sore side.
What is all this Nestor talk?
Donnerwell was the leader of a bunch of Tennessee farmers. Oh, not enough to be dangerous to me. At least not until he took over the headwaters of Yaqui Creek. Someone tipped him that I'd never settle that piece of land.
Well, where are the Nestors now?
Over at the county seat, where the sheriff can protect them. I reckon they'll be moving in on me pretty quick. They'll get a warm reception. We'll take care of it.
I didn't shoot nobody. I tell you, I was just watching the party. I didn't shoot nobody. I said, let me go.
Hey, Drago, we got the kid.
Take the little ragamuffin into Cedarville and lock him in that old jail. Then send to Donna Anna for the sheriff.
Right.
Good. They caught him. Well, a fee pays for putting that slug into me. Hey, get away from my coat.
Oh, what? Sure.
Cassidy, if you try to cross me, I'll stick my whole outfit on you.
Well, here's the old jail. You know what to do, California.
Sure, I ought to run like blazes. Hoppy, I'll never get to be 40 traveling with you.
If you see 40 again, you'll back up to it. But you saw how someone stirred up a drunken mob to lynch Beans before the sheriff gets here.
Yeah, funny how easy it is to stir up hate. Wish it was as easy to make folks love. Life would be a heap more peaceful.
Oh, stop grumbling and stand guard. I'll get the boy.
Sure. Stand guard. Just to rescue that shin-kicking, gun-toting, unreal little porcupine. Hey,
Good morning.
Wait. Morning, Miss Maud. Goodbye, Miss Maud.
Why, Mr. Carlson, you look nervous. Anything wrong?
No, of course not.
I know. You're worried about the boy. So am I. He hasn't a friend in the world.
I wouldn't say that exactly, ma'am.
But it's true. The way that mob is shouting up the street. Someone should take the boy out of town to Donna Anna.
Oh, no sane man would try a stunt like that. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Carlson. Be careful.
Sure. I'm trying as best I can.
California, coast clear?
Yeah, but hurry.
I had to tie up the jailer. Come on, Beans. Here's your horse.
Quick, Hoppy. That mob spotted us. Let's ride. What you stopping for, Hoppy?
Up ahead, a bunch of wagons and riders coming this way.
It's Pappy's friends. They're coming from Donna Anna.
We've lost the gang back there. You wait here. I'll check up ahead.
Hold up there. Well. Howdy, stranger. Riding kind of hard, aren't you?
My name's Hopalong Cassidy. From that star on your vest, I'd say you were the sheriff of Donna Anna County.
Yeah. You need a one?
Yeah, I got a prisoner back there. The little one.
Looks like about a half a prisoner.
That's Beans Donnerwell.
Why, that's it.
Are these nesters, Sheriff?
Uh-huh. Planning on settling in Yaqui Valley?
Drago's going to fight to keep them out. They'll have guards posted. Drago's men will slaughter these farmers.
I reckon that's why I'm riding with them. I aim to see they get a fair shake. If they don't, well, I'll speak my piece.
I have an idea that might prevent this war if you can give me a little time. Listen, it's a good hunch Drago will take over Cedarville and make his stand there. He'll figure to try and trap those nesters.
What you looking for, Hoppy? Why'd we circle town?
From this knoll, I can watch how Drago's stationing his men. Uh-oh. There goes Drago himself into the hotel. That's what I wanted to see. Come on.
Hey, what about me?
You're to stay here, Beans. This is a two-man job. And now we try to draw Drago's fangs. That is, his men.
We just ask him polite-like to quit Drago, I suppose.
No, here's the plan. We'll split at that building. You go up the alley behind one row of buildings. I'll take the other. So far as I could tell, all of Drago's men are on the rooftops except those in the hotel.
So far, I'm with you, Hoppy, but I got the feeling you're about to lose me. You take one side, I take the other, huh?
And behind each building, you stop and yell so a man or men stationed on the roof can hear you.
Yell of what? Boo?
Well, you pretend you're one of Drago's men talking to someone. You yell something like this. Gold! They found gold on Yaqui Creek. I'm on my way, Sam. Let those other suckers stay here and fight if they want to.
Oh, yeah, I get it. But, Hoppy, when they look down, they won't...
They'll see nothing. You duck around the next building as soon as you yell. Meet you at the hotel.
Yeah. Oh, well, I have had a good life. Up till now.
Don't get edgy, lawyer. We don't shoot till the nesters have been warned and their families are out of range.
So you told me a dozen times. The heck with it. I've had enough psalm singing. I'm going up on the roof where I can have some privacy.
Seems to me you aren't very happy about this chance to get rid of the nesters.
Maybe I'm not, but I can't back down now.
Uh-oh. Well, it won't be long now. Look up the road. Here they come.
I wish there was another way.
There is. Just sit real quiet.
Huh?
Keep them covered, California. I'll collect their hardware.
Right, Hoppy. Keep those hands up, you two.
Hey, what's the idea? I'm not carrying a hideout. My rifle's there against the wall.
Just had to search you and make sure. Now you, Drago.
There's mine. Don't bother to search me. You fool.
If you're thinking of your men, forget it. They're gone.
What? You're bluffing.
Am I? Then this should bring them running.
Greg, Luke, Blackie, Ryan. Hoppy, I think his saddle just come uncinched.
Drago, it's my hunch you're a tough but misguided hombre. You want to listen to how you've been the intended victim all along?
I'm hardly in a position to argue, cowboy.
Well, first, Donnerwell was tipped to come in and settle on the source of Yaqui Creek, giving you a good motive to kill him. 2, Donnerwell was killed and your watch fob planted by him. Beans found it and kept it secret. 3, failing to get you hung for Donnerwell's murder, the killer tried direct action, taking advantage of the boys being seen outside the house.
Still trying to say the boy didn't shoot me, huh?
He didn't. When the killer found he'd only wounded you, he again tried to plant a clue pointing to you.
Isn't this a little roundabout just to get me?
Yeah, it is. And it's what gave the killer away. There's only one person who stood to profit so obviously by your death that he had to make sure no one could suspect. Your heir.
Why, Unc. Why, he means me. I never even met Donnerwell.
Drago, take a look in Junior's coat pocket.
Huh? Sure. But it's silly to... What's this?
What? Donnerwell's wallet. But how... Cassidy, why, you put it there.
Yeah, when I searched her. It was a dirty trick, wasn't it?
A stupid trick, if you ask me. There. You have no proof.
No. You never met Donnerwell. How did you know it was his wallet? It's unmarked.
Why, you said... You dirty snoop. If you kept your nose out. But I won't take all the blame. I will...
He's been shot. Who did it? Drop them, you two. It serves the sniveling skunk right. He was smart enough to have the ideas, but I had to do his dirty work for him.
You can't get away, Greg.
I'll get away. But first I'm going to kill the 3 of you. To shut you up for good.
Now, back to Hopalong Cassidy.
You all right, Mr. Cassidy?
Thanks to your disobedience and quick shooting, Beans. Did you kill him?
No. I kept thinking about what you said. You know, the law taking care of it and all. I just put a slug in both his arms so he couldn't shoot, and another in his leg to make him sit down.
Some shooting. Someday I'll tell you about how I shot Billy the Kid. Oh, he was a fair shot himself and spunky just like you.
Beans, I owe you an apology. I accuse you of what my own nephew was guilty of. I'm sorry, son.
Reckon I made the same kind of mistake, Mr. Drago. We can both thank Mr. Cassidy for setting us straight.
We sure can. Beans, do you have any plans?
Me? No. Guess I'll try and get me a job somewheres.
Come over here with me, Beans. I think you've got a place to go. Maybe after Maud and I are married, you might even like to try us out as your new folks.
Gee. Hoppy, where'd you get Donnerwell's wallet?
Junior planted it in Drago's coat the night he was shot. I saw it and thought I'd return the favor.
Hey, what was the shooting? Oh, what's this? Well, it's the war over. Where's Drago's man?
Hello, Sheriff. You can stop worrying. Drago will let the nesters settle in peace. I'll tell you about it in a minute, but first, meet my partner, California Carlson. He's the one who really shot Billy the Kid, you know.
Oh, well, how interesting. I thought it was Pat Garrett.
That's 'cause I let Pat take the credit. We was pards, Pat and me was. What's your moniker, Sheriff?
Garrett. Pat Garrett.
Sure glad to meet... Hoppy. Hide me.
Looks like...
Announcement of the Japanese surrender. This dramatic event has been recorded by radio correspondents, and it comes to us now by shortwave from the Pacific.
Attention, the peoples of the world. World War II is about to come to its official closing. We're on the Pacific Fleet flagship USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay for the signing of the surrender of Japan. 3 years, 8 months, and 25 days since the attack on Pearl Harbor. We are 3,700 miles from there, but we've come much further than that by way of the Central Pacific, New Guinea, the Marianas, and the Philippines. The Japanese delegation has just arrived. Military men in formal military uniform and dignitaries, civilian dignitaries in formal attire. Lined up before us are more officers and men with higher-ranking stars and gold braid than has been assembled in this bay for many a long time. The deck of the Missouri stretches out before us. We're on the veranda deck. Its great guns are pointed skyward to allow more room for the Army, Navy, Marines, and the representatives of the nations who are here. The United States of China, the United Kingdom, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, Australia, Canada, France, Netherlands, and New Zealand. An interesting note here for a moment. The Navy and Marine personnel, former prisoners of war who are here for this surrender ceremony, are Commander A.L. Maher, who was a surviving officer of the USS Houston, a prisoner since May 6, 1942. Lieutenant J.W. Condit. He was a member of the Yorktown's Torpedo 5 Squadron, a prisoner since September 1943. First Lieutenant William F. Herrick, a Marine from Corregidor, since August 4, 1943 in Japan. Machinist mate second class L.C. Shaw of the Navy, a survivor of the USS Grenadier. Lieutenant General Jonathan Wainwright is here, he who surrendered at Corregidor and Bataan, and General Arthur Percival, who surrendered at Singapore. With General Wainwright are his staff. Brigadier General Louis Beebe is Chief of Staff, Colonel John Frigger, one of his aides, Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Dooley, and his orderly, Sergeant Hubert Carroll. Planes have been flying overhead. The day is quite cloudy, a mist surrounding the mountains that come down to form Tokyo Bay. Before us here are flags. Oh, here comes the Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces, General of the Army, Douglas MacArthur. With him, Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz, and other dignitaries.
General MacArthur is now facing the microphones. He is about to start his speech, which explains the signing surrender and also calls
Representatives of the major warring powers to conclude a solemn agreement whereby peace may be restored. The issues involving divergent ideals and ideologies have been determined on the battlefields of the world, and hence are not for our discussion or debate. Nor is it for us here to meet, representing, as we do, a majority of the peoples of the earth in a spirit of distrust, malice, or hatred. But rather it is for us, both victors and vanquished, to rise to that higher dignity which alone befits the sacred purposes we are about to serve, committing all of our peoples unreservedly
to faithful compliance with the undertakings they are here formally to assume. It is my earnest hope, and indeed the hope of all mankind, that from this solemn occasion a better world shall emerge out of the blood and carnage of the past. A world founded upon faith and understanding. A world dedicated to the dignity of man and the fulfillment of his most cherished wish for freedom, tolerance, and justice. The terms and conditions upon which surrender of the Japanese imperial forces is here to be given and accepted are contained in the instrument of surrender now before you. As Supreme Commander for the Allied Powers, I announce it my firm purpose, in the tradition of the countries I represent, to proceed in the discharge of my responsibilities with justice and tolerance, while taking all necessary dispositions to ensure that the terms of surrender are fully, promptly, and faithfully complied with. Of the Emperor of Japan and the Japanese government and the Japanese Imperial General Headquarters to sign the instrument of surrender at the places indicated.
Mr. Mamoru Shigemitsu, Foreign Minister of the Japanese government, is stepping forward now to sit down at the table and sign the instrument of surrender. His will be the first signature on behalf of the Emperor of Japan, surrendering all Japanese armed forces and committing the Japanese people to obey all orders of Supreme Commander Marcotte through the office of the Japanese Emperor. Shigemitsu limps. He has a wooden leg, apparently. He is dressed in formal attire of the Foreign Office. He came aboard just a few minutes ago. There's a question about Shigemitsu here, since he was a member of the War Cabinet and more recently was put into the new Peace Cabinet of the Japanese government. He perhaps might be examined later as a war criminal, although that point can be brought up at a later date. Now we're waiting. The Foreign Office assistant has prepared the papers. Here comes Mr. Shigemitsu, who had found something in the arrangements. General MacArthur is standing behind the microphones over which he just talked. He's waiting. Here comes Mr. Shigemitsu now. He's pulling up to the table, pulls the chair back, and he's about to sit down. He is studying the document carefully. Something about it doesn't like. He's having a little difficulty sitting down because of his wooden leg. He takes off his silver top hat, pulling off his gloves. He's wearing yellow gloves. His assistant is helping him prepare his papers. Mr. General MacArthur is looking around. He's annoyed by a little farce. He points to his chief of staff, Lieutenant General Richard Sutherland, to go up and help Mr. Shigemitsu prepare everything. This is going a little slower than planned, and the general is possibly a little bit irked because he wanted this to be efficient and rapid in the American custom. General MacArthur is waiting. He's looking down on Mr. Shigemitsu. Mr. Shigemitsu looks at his watch for some reason, consults some papers in his pocket. He's looking for a pen. And one of his now he's got another watch. He's checking two watches. At last he's got a pen out and he's preparing to do something, although he hasn't yet faced himself up to the surrender document. Here he is. He's trying to get some ink out of a pen holder which has no ink in it. The Japanese do not have any. Mr. Shigemitsu has some ink in his pen and he's ready to sign the document. He's leaning over the paper now. This document is a huge thing. It measures about 1.5 feet long by 1 foot wide. It's printed up in beautiful bold type. We can almost read it from here. Mr. Shigemitsu is affixing his signature to the official surrender document, turning over the Japanese armed forces and committing the people of Japan to obey the orders of General MacArthur through the office of the Emperor. We have an imperial declaration here for us by which the Emperor commits himself, his government, his armed forces, and his people to obey all the instructions on this instrument of surrender. The instrument of surrender is quite general. It will be turned over to the Japanese in General Order Number 1, which General MacArthur will hand them in just a few minutes. This instrument of surrender deals with the method by which the Army, the Navy, and the Air Forces will surrender their arms Here's another signature. Mr. Shigemitsu is doubly signing. There's two documents here, of course. One copy for Japan and one copy for the Allies. Mr. Shigemitsu has signed the American copy. He is now signing the Japanese copy. He's leaning over and affixing his signature. I can almost watch him spell his name out for you. Here's the S-H-I. Eyes hesitated again. He's closing up his pen. I guess I missed it. I'm sorry. We're a little bit blocked off by the line of dignitaries in front of us, which includes all the signers for the Allied powers. I'll call them off for you one by one as they come up to the microphone. Mr. Shigemitsu has finished, and immediately behind him is General Yoshijiro Yumetsu, Chief of Staff of the Japanese Army Headquarters. General Yoshijiro Yumetsu, who will sign for the Japanese Army and all the Japanese Armed Forces as personal representative of the Emperor of Japan. General Yoshijiro Yumetsu sits down. He's having no trouble with his fountain pen. In fact, he's in very much of a rush. He's sitting down and he's scribbling his name across the American document. He'll lean over in a second and scribble his name across the copy prepared for the Japanese. One copy is bound in gray. It's a beige color, really, sitting on top of the table down there. The other is bound in black. If the black copy is for the Japanese, it is certainly in effect because their nation is in mourning today on this tragic day in their history, and they all are looking extremely grim, as if they were attending a funeral. One of the Japanese officers, as he came aboard the ship, was seen to wipe tears away from his eyes. I know him. He's one of the colonels that was sent to Manila for the signing down there. And he is not very happy about the whole thing. Mr. Shigemitsu was watching Japanese General Yoshijiro Yumetsu sign, and he has a very stern, bearing look on his face. In fact, all the Japs' faces show strong, muscular tenseness around the jaw. This ceremony is not at all pleasing to them, and yet at the same time, I must say that the victors, the Allies gathered here, the admirals, the generals, and those men, those correspondents who represent the newspapers and radios of the world, there isn't a man here who has any feeling of exultation. Everyone is glad it's over. General Sutherland is just turning around the document now because General MacArthur is next to sign. Both Japanese delegates have signed. They have officially committed themselves, the Emperor, the armed forces, and the people of Japan, to obey all the orders of General MacArthur as Supreme Commander to be issued through the office of the Emperor.
The Allied powers will now sign on behalf of all the nations at war with Japan. Will General Wainwright and General Percival step forward and accompany me while I sign?
General MacArthur is just sitting down, and Lieutenant General Jonathan Wainwright, Hero Commander of Bataan and Corregidor, and Lieutenant General Arthur Percival, the British commander at Singapore, have stepped up behind him right at the document table. General Wainwright is assisting General MacArthur to sit down. General MacArthur takes one of the two official pens from the table, and here's his hand, It has started the D. D-O-U. He's writing very deliberately. His hand is shaking. He's bothered by emotion. That is obvious. General MacArthur is bothered by emotion, but he is doing a magnificent job of carrying this thing out. He's writing his name now. There is his first name. Here it comes. He's turned around. He's talking to Wainwright for just a second. He's giving General Wainwright the pen that he has just signed the document with. He has given the first pen to Lieutenant General Jonathan Wainwright, the Hero Commander of Bataan and Corregidor. Now he is completing his signature on the two documents, and he turns the second pen. He used two pens. He turned the second pen over to Lieutenant General Arthur Percival, the commander of Singapore when the Japanese took that British base. At last, these two commanders who suffered such ignominious defeats out here because the Allies were not ready, at last these two commanders see the final, ultimate victory of the powers they represent. General MacArthur is turning over now and signing the other copy with another pen. This third pen, as I gather, is just strictly a Navy GI pen on board the ship. The first two were silver-plated pens specially presented for the occasion. General MacArthur is having a little difficulty moving around with this big instrument of surrender document, and he has finally got it squared away, and he's signed. He has signed both. He's checking now on the signatures and blotting. He's got another pen yet. He is signing with yet another pen. This is the fourth pen to be used on the document. Apparently, this pen is for some special purpose, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least if it was sent to the President of the United States. General MacArthur is using a fifth pen. Everyone's going to get a pen out of this surrender document. And here comes one of the big B-29s, which I suppose is the leader of the flight which was to put on a demonstration of air power here over the bay this morning. The weather is miserable for a demonstration of air power. The cloud season is not more than about 1,500 feet. But everything is going according to plan. General MacArthur has finished signing. Lieutenant General Jonathan Wainwright and General Percival have saluted him, and General MacArthur is back to the microphone.
The representative of the United States of America will now sign.
Coming now up to the table where these great documents rest. Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz, signing on behalf of the United States of America. Standing behind him in posts of honor are Admiral William Halsey and with him Rear Admiral Forrest Sherman of Admiral Nimitz's staff. Admiral Nimitz, his flowy hair under his tight-fitting neat cap, is leaning across as he signs with great intensity and earnestness this document. This means a great deal to Admiral Nimitz, who's brought his fleet across the Pacific to join forces here with General MacArthur in this momentous occasion.
General MacArthur's looking around for something.
Representative of the Republic of China will now sign.
A very youngish-looking general, General Hugh Young Chang, representing the Chinese Republic, steps up to the table and sits down. General Hugh Young Chang is following Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, who has just signed, flanked as honor men his own Chief of Staff and Admiral Bull Halsey. The two naval officers were superb here this morning. They have run off a completely efficient organization for this signing, this surrender signing on behalf of the Supreme Commander. The job the Navy is doing here this morning in the Bay of Tokyo is magnificent, and they deserve every praise for the way this thing has been arranged and set up. General MacArthur, I know, is very grateful for the Navy assistance, and he was quite pleased. He was quite pleased the other day when Admiral Nimitz came ashore for a visit with him at Supreme Headquarters. Chinese General Hugh Young Chang has now signed for the Chinese Republic, and General MacArthur steps back to the microphone.
The representative of the United Kingdom will now sign.
Admiral Sir Bruce Fraser, representing the United Kingdom. He's asking for honor men to flank him. Admiral Sir Bruce Fraser, he is dressed in white, wearing the gold braid on his shoulders and on his cap. Wearing the gold braid on his shoulders and on his cap. And he sits down now to sign. He has two of his honor men immediately behind him as he signs. He had called their names, but I'm sorry, we're too far removed to pick it up. One of them looks like Vian. Who commands the British Pacific Fleet that has been operating with Bull Halsey. General MacArthur is watching Sir Bruce Fraser. In fact, he's just stepping forward and helping with the pen for a second. There, Sir Bruce Fraser is affixing his signature on behalf of England, Great Britain, the United Kingdom, and the Dominions will follow in order in just a few minutes. The Dominions which sign will follow in order. And now back to General MacArthur.
The representative of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics will now sign.
Lieutenant General Kuzma Nikolaevich Dorodenko. Lieutenant General Kuzma Nikolaevich Dorodenko. And he is calling forward 2 men to flank him as honor men. 3 men, 4 men, sorry. No, 3 men, 3 men. 1 Navy, 1 Russian Air Force, and 1 Russian Army. And they are all huge men, absolutely stalwart, magnificent specimens. They're sitting down here. Beautiful dark brown uniform with blue trousers. The blue trousers have red stripes on them. His cap bears the red tabs of the staff officer of the Russian government. He is now signing very rapidly, very efficiently. He's wasting not a second at the papers. He finds himself a little uncomfortable, so he picks up the chair and slides it around while he's sitting in it. He's now signing the other side of the instrument of surrender, which commits all of Japan to the orders of General MacArthur. General Dorodenko of the representing the Russian government, representing Marshal Joseph Stalin and the Russian people, is signing now on the surrender document. He has signed the American copy. He's now signing the Japanese copy. He has finished. He rises, salutes General MacArthur. General MacArthur smiles, nods approval at him, and turns back to the microphone.
The representative of Australia will now sign.
Sir Thomas Blaney, Commander-in-Chief of all the ground forces in the Southwest Pacific area when General MacArthur was Supreme Commander down there, and Commander-in-Chief of all Australian forces, has stepped forward and saluted General MacArthur. He then has called forward for honor guards to flank him, a member of the Australian ground forces, a member of the Australian Navy, a member of the Australian Air Forces, and a member of the Australian Home Defense Command. General Blaney has sat down. He's a large man. His chest is covered with decorations. He again is wearing the red tabs on his cap, which designate a senior staff officer of the British Army. He's wasting no time in signing the documents. He reverses the procedure. He signs this time the Japanese document first, and the American document second. Doesn't make much difference. The thing is all getting very formal, and down on paper, this horrible world is about to finally officially come to a close. General Sir Thomas Blamey has finished signing. He again salutes MacArthur, receives a salute in return, and back to General MacArthur.
Representative of Canada will now sign.
Colonel L. Moore Cosgrove. Colonel L. Moore Cosgrove, representing the Dominion of Canada. He is alone. He is alone. He steps up to the table, salutes General MacArthur, wastes not a second, picks up a pen, and affixes his signature. We're still waiting here for the show of air strength, which was scheduled for this morning. It was to be a shared job by Navy carrier planes and General Spotz's Strategic Air Forces. However, the weather, as I said, is very bad, and it's particularly bad around the shores of the bay, where there are a number of mountains that disappear at very sudden approaches into the cloud level that is not very high. The ship we're on, the Missouri, is absolutely surrounded by a terrific armada of American and British fighting strength. Just off our port bow are two British battleships, King George V and Howe. Just to the right of us are two American battleships. And back to General MacArthur.
The representative of France will now sign.
General Jacques Leclerc, hero of the Chad, hero of France, is stepping up to the table now to sign, and he calls two of his staff officers up to stand behind him as honor guard. He has saluted General MacArthur. He sits down and picks out his own fountain pen to sign the document. He is wasting not a second and fixing his cent. General Jacques Leclerc, the man who led the handful task force from the Chad all the way up through the desert to Libya to team up with General Montgomery and come on through to Tunisia to join General Eisenhower's forces, then into Italy, then into France, finally into Germany, and here he is saluting MacArthur. He has signed the document.
The representative of Netherlands will now sign.
Admiral Conrad Helfrich. Admiral Conrad Helfrich, representing the Netherlands, the man who commanded the Allied fleet in the Java Sea battle way back in 1942 when the Allies had so little and the enemy had so much. Admiral Helfrich is now fixing his signature. General MacArthur is giving him a hand here. There's a little hitch about the pen, and the general's gone up to lend him a hand, and Admiral Helfrich is now affixing his signature. It was Admiral Helfrich who decided that Allied power that was available in the Pacific, in the Java area, in the Netherlands East Indies area, would fight rather than wait for the Japs to attack. And he sent forth the Allied Naval Task Force to the Battle of the Java Sea, where America lost the Houston, where Britain lost the Exeter, and where Admiral Helfrich lost what was left of the Dutch Navy with the exception of two light cruisers. However, that battle delayed the Japanese. It enabled us to pull a number of key personnel and a lot of air strength out of Java back to Australia, and every bit in that time, every bit saved in that time helped save the entire democratic world. Admiral Helfrich shoots MacArthur and back to New Zealand. Air Vice Marshal just finished his signature. He turns and salutes General MacArthur and back to MacArthur.
Let us pray that peace be now restored to the world, and that God will preserve it always. These proceedings are closed.
And so now we have peace in the world. Symbolically, during the latter part of the signing of the document by the representatives of these allied nations, the sun, which had been behind the clouds here at Tokyo Bay during the early morning, up to almost the very end of the signing, came through the clouds and we had sunshine. And it shone down on the assembled might of the vast allied fleets here in this broad stretch of water. Old Mount Fujiyama, which has seen many strange things in this strange land, has looked down now upon one of the most momentous surrenders in all the history of the world. Perhaps, and let us hope that this is the last surrender. I should like to point to you that the first American flag ever to fly over Japanese soil 92 years ago, and the flag that flew over the Capitol in Washington when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, both are being displayed here today. Two historic flags, one with only 31 stars and one with 48. The great battleship Missouri now stands with its prow pointing toward Japan. Its guns are lifted high. Everyone here has felt a great feeling of exultation. It's been a great event. It's one that could not help but stir you right down to the soles of your shoes. The Allied General Staffs are standing by. The Japanese are preparing to depart. Soldiers, sailors, Marines, civilians, war correspondents, men who follow this war across the Pacific and up through the jungles of New Guinea and the Philippines and on the rough, bloody beach at Tarawa and up through Iwo Jima Sands and Okinawa and up here to Japan itself. Many of these men are here. The sun showing now on their bronze faces as they look upon this scene. It's interesting to watch the color of the representatives of the Allied nations, some with scarlet bands about their caps, the French with gold braid twisted and braid around the top of there. A great many caps in white as the Navy is represented, the sky, the royal blue of the New Zealanders, and the dark blue of the British, and the khaki, the informal khaki of the representatives of the United States Fleet and of the United States Army. There are many men here, if I have a moment, and I do have because the Japanese have not gone. I should like to point that General Joseph Stilwell is over there, the 10th Army, and General Walter Kruger of the 6th, and General Courtney Hodges of the 1st Army, who now we can say is here in the Pacific, and General Carl Toohey Spotts of the Strategic Air Force, and General Kenny of the Far Eastern Air Force, and Lieutenant General Robert L. Eichelbarger of the 8th Army, and Lieutenant General Robert C. Richardson of the Pacific, and Lieutenant General Richard Sutherland, Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General William Steyer, Lieutenant General Barney Giles, and of the Navy, Admiral Halsey, Admiral Richmond Kelly Turner, of whom you've heard earlier, Vice Admiral John Towers, Vice Admiral John McCain of the Carriers, Vice Admiral Charles Lockwood, and Vice Admiral Theodore Wilkinson, Vice Admiral Forrest Sherman, Lieutenant General Roy Geiger of the Marines, Admiral John F. Shafroth, and Donald B. Berry, Rear Admiral. All these and many more with their staffs with them. And now, from the Pacific,
Ladies and gentlemen of the world, as if God himself approves, the clouds have broken away, the sun has come out in these first moments of peace. The Japanese are now leaving with a surrender document, and from aboard the flagship USS Missouri, where the formal surrender of Japan has just taken place, we switch you now to the White House in Washington.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
My fellow Americans, Supreme Allied Commander General MacArthur and Allied representatives on the battleship Missouri in Tokyo Bay. The thoughts and hopes of all America, indeed of all the civilized world, are centered tonight on the battleship Missouri. There, on that small piece of American soil, anchored in Tokyo Harbor, the Japanese have just officially laid down their arms. They have signed terms of unconditional surrender. 4 years ago, the thoughts and fears of the whole civilized world were centered on another piece of American soil, Pearl Harbor. The mighty threat to civilization which began there is now laid at rest. It was a long road to Tokyo and a bloody one. We shall not forget Pearl Harbor. The Japanese militarists will not forget the USS Missouri. The evil done by the Japanese warlords can never be repaired or forgotten. But their power to destroy and kill has been taken from them. Their armies, and what is left of their navy, are now impotent. To all of us, there comes first a sense of gratitude to Almighty God, who sustained us and our allies in the dark days of grave danger, who made us to grow from weakness into the strongest fighting force in history, and who has now seen us overcome the forces of tyranny that sought to destroy his civilization. God grant that in our pride of this hour, we may not forget the hard tasks that are still before us, that we may approach these with the same courage, zeal, and patience with which we faced the trials and problems of the past 4 years. Our first thoughts, of course, thoughts of gratefulness and deep obligation, go out to those of our loved ones who have been killed or maimed in this terrible war. On land and sea and in the air, American men and women have given their lives so that this day of ultimate victory might come and assure the survival of a civilized world. No victory can make good their loss. We think of those whom death in this war has hurt, taking from them fathers, husbands, sons, brothers, and sisters whom they loved. No victory can bring back the faces they long to see. Only the knowledge that the victory which these sacrifices have made possible will be wisely used can give them any comfort. It is our responsibility, ours the living, to see to it that this victory shall be a monument worthy of the dead who died to win it. We think of all the millions of men and women in our armed forces and merchant marines all over the world who, after years of sacrifice and hardship and peril, have been spared by Providence from harm. We think of all the men and women and children who, during these years, have carried on at home in lonesomeness and anxiety and fear. Our thoughts go out to the millions of American workers and businessmen, to our farmers and miners, to all those who have built up this country's fighting strength and who have shipped to our allies the means to resist and overcome the enemy. Our thoughts go out to our civil servants and to the thousands of Americans who, at personal sacrifice, have come to serve in our government during these trying years. To the members of the Selective Service Board and Ration Board, to the civilian defense and Red Cross workers, to the men and women in the USO and in the entertainment world, to all those who have helped in this cooperative struggle to preserve liberty and decency in the world. We think of our departed gallant leader, Franklin D. Roosevelt, defender of democracy, architect of world peace and cooperation. And our thoughts go out to our gallant allies in this war, to those who resisted the invaders, to those who were not strong enough to hold out, but who, nevertheless, kept the fires of resistance alive within the souls of their people, to those who stood up against great odds and held the line until the United Nations together were able to supply the arms and the men with which to overcome the forces of evil. This is a victory of more than arms alone. This is a victory of liberty over tyranny. From our war plants rolled the tanks and planes which blasted their way to the heart of our enemy. From our shipyards sprang the ships which bridged all the oceans of the world for our weapons and supplies. From our farms came the food and fiber for our armies and navies and for our allies in all the corners of the earth. From our mines and factories came the raw materials and the finished products which gave us the equipment to overcome our enemies. But back of it all were the will and spirit and determination of a free people who know what freedom is and who know that it is worth whatever price they had to pay to preserve it. It was the spirit of liberty which gave us our armed strength and which made our men invincible in battle. We now know that that spirit of liberty, the freedom of the individual, and the personal dignity of man are the strongest and toughest and most enduring forces in all the world. And so on VJ Day, we take renewed faith and pride in our own way of life. We have had our day of rejoicing over this victory. We have had our day of prayer and devotion. Now let us set aside VJ Day as one of renewed consecration to the principles which have made us the strongest nation on earth and which, in this war, we have striven so mightily to preserve. Those principles provide the faith, the hope, and the opportunity which help men to improve themselves and their lot. Liberty does not make all men perfect, nor all society secure. But it has provided more solid progress and happiness and decency for more people than any other philosophy of government in history. And this day has shown again that it provides the greatest strength and the greatest power which man has ever reached. We know that under it we can meet the hard problems of peace which have come upon us. A free people with free allies who can develop an atomic bomb can use the same skill and energy and determination to overcome all the difficulties ahead. Victory always has its burdens and its responsibilities as well as its rejoicing. But we face the future and all its dangers with great confidence and great hope. America can build for itself a future of employment and security. Together with the United Nations, it can build a world of peace founded on justice, fair dealing, and tolerance. As President of the United States, I proclaim Sunday, September the 2nd, 1945, to be VJ Day, the day of the formal surrender of Japan. It is not yet the day for the formal proclamation of the end of the war, nor of the cessation of hostilities. But it is a day which we Americans shall always remember as a day of retribution, as we remember that other day, the day of infamy. From this day we move forward. We move toward a new era of security at home. With the other United Nations, we move toward a new and better world of cooperation, of peace, and international goodwill. God's help has brought us to this day of victory. With His help, we will attain that peace and prosperity for ourselves and all the world in the years ahead.
We take you now from the White House in Washington to the Supreme Commander for the Allied Powers in the Pacific, General of the Army, Douglas MacArthur.
My fellow countrymen, today the guns are silent. A great tragedy has ended. A great victory has been won. The skies no longer rain death. The seas bear only commerce. Men everywhere walk upright in the sunlight. The entire world lies quietly at peace. The holy mission has been completed. And in reporting this to you, the people, I speak for the thousands of silent lips forever stilled among the jungles and the beaches and in the deep waters of the Pacific which mark the way. I speak for the unnamed brave millions homeward bound to take up the challenge of that future which they did so much to salvage from the brink of disaster. As I look back on the long, tortuous trail from those grim days of Bataan and Corregidor, when an entire world lived in fear, when democracy was on the defensive everywhere, when modern civilization trembled in the balance, I thank a merciful God that He has given us the faith, the courage, and the power from which to mold victory. We have known the bitterness of defeat and the exaltation of triumph, and from both we have learned there can be no turning back. We must go forward to preserve in peace what we won in war. A new era is upon us. Even the lesson of victory itself brings it profound concern, both for our future security and the survival of civilization. The destructiveness of the war potential through progressive advances in scientific discovery has, in fact, now reached a point which revises the traditional concept of war. Men, since the beginning of time, have sought peace. Various methods through the ages have been attempted to devise an international process to prevent or settle disputes between nations. From the very start, workable methods were found insofar as individual citizens were concerned. But the mechanics of an instrumentality of larger international scope have never been successful. Military alliances, balances of power, leagues of nations, all in turn failed, leaving the only path to be by way of the crucible of war. The utter destructiveness of war now blots out this alternative. We have had our last chance. If we do not devise some greater and more equitable system, Armageddon will be at our door. The problem basically is theological and involves a spiritual recrudescence and improvement of human character that will synchronize with our almost matchless advance in science, art, literature, and all material and cultural developments of the past 2,000 years. It must be of the spirit if we are to save the flesh. We stand in Tokyo today, reminiscent of our countryman, Commodore Perry, 92 years ago. His purpose was to bring to Japan an era of enlightenment and progress by lifting the veil of isolation to the friendship, trade, and commerce of the world. But alas, the knowledge thereby gained of Western science was forged into an instrument of oppression and human enslavement. Freedom of expression, freedom of action, even freedom of thought were denied through suppression of liberal education, through appeal to superstition, and through the application of force. We are committed by the Potsdam Declaration of Principles to see that the Japanese people are liberated from this condition of slavery. It is my purpose to implement this commitment just as rapidly as the armed forces are demobilized and other essential steps taken to neutralize the war potential. The energy of the Japanese race, if properly directed, will enable expansion vertically rather than horizontally. If the talents of the race are turned into constructive channels, the country can lift itself from its present deplorable state into a position of dignity. To the Pacific Basin has come the vista of a new, emancipated world. Today, freedom is on the offensive. Democracy is on the march. Today, in Asia as well as in Europe, unshackled peoples are tasting the full sweetness of liberty, the relief from fear. In the Philippines, America has evolved a model for this new free world of Asia. In the Philippines, America has demonstrated that peoples of the East and peoples of the West may walk side by side in mutual respect and with mutual benefit. The history of our sovereignty there has now the full confidence of the East. And so, my fellow countrymen, today I report to you that your sons and daughters have served you well and faithfully with the calm, deliberate, determined fighting spirit of the American soldier and sailor, based upon a tradition of historical trait as against the fanaticism of an enemy supported only by mythological fiction. Their spiritual strength and power has brought us through to victory. They are homeward bound. Take care of them.
That was General of the Army Douglas MacArthur, Supreme Commander of the Allied Powers. We will now hear Fleet Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, United States Navy, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet.
On board all naval vessels at sea and in port and at our many island bases in the Pacific, there is rejoicing and thanksgiving. The long and bitter struggle which Japan started so treacherously on the 7th of December 1941 is at an end. I take great pride in the American forces which have helped to win this victory. America can be proud of them. The officers and men of the United States Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and Merchant Marine who fought in the Pacific have written heroic new chapters in this nation's military history. I have infinite respect for their courage, resourcefulness, and devotion to duty. We also acknowledge the great contribution to this victory made by our valiant allies. United we fought, and united we prevail. The port of Tokyo, which was first opened by Commodore Perry in 1853, is now crowded with United States men of war. The process of bringing Japan into the family of civilized nations, which was interrupted when Japan launched her program of conquest, will soon begin again. Today, all freedom-loving peoples of the world rejoice in the victory and feel pride in the accomplishments of our combined forces. We also pay tribute to those who defended our freedom at the cost of their lives. On Guam is a military cemetery in a green valley not far from my headquarters. The ordered rows of white crosses stand as reminders of the heavy cost we have paid for victory. On these crosses are the names of American soldiers, sailors, and Marines. Culpeper, Tomino, Sweeney, Bromberry, Depew, Malloy, Ponziani, names that are a cross-section of democracy. They fought together as brothers in arms. They died together, and now they sleep side by side. To them we have a solemn obligation, the obligation to ensure that their sacrifice will help to make this a better and safer world in which to live. To achieve this, it will be necessary for the United Nations to enforce rigidly the peace terms that will be imposed upon Japan. It will also be necessary to maintain our national strength at a level which will discourage future acts of aggression aimed at the destruction of our way of life. Now we turn to the great tasks of reconstruction and restoration. I am confident that we will be able to apply the same skill, resourcefulness, and keen thinking to these problems as were applied to the problems of winning the victory.
Broadcasting Company has brought to its listeners the historic events transpiring aboard the battleship Missouri in Tokyo Bay, the formal signing of the document of surrender to the United States and her allies by the representatives of Japan. At this hour, it is 16 minutes past 11 a.m. in Tokyo on the day of the 2nd of September in this year of our Lord, 1945. On the broadcast recorded aboard the USS Missouri, you heard the voices of Merrill Muller of NBC and Webley Edwards. From the White House, President Harry S. Truman addressed the nation. The victory proclamations of General MacArthur and Admiral Nimitz were prepared for the occasion and recorded for use tonight. The signatures of the Japanese envoys have been put upon the surrender document. The National Broadcasting Company has called upon its symphony orchestra and upon Arturo Toscanini to commemorate the occasion. We suggest that you keep tuned to this station for Victory, Act 3, with Arturo Toscanini conducting the NBC Symphony Orchestra, which will follow immediately. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
The air marshals and generals had mapped out the air phase of the invasion. The kids I used to know at Kelly Field in San Antonio, among others, were the ones who made it succeed. And the story of this war can't be told properly until the story of certain civilians is told, such as those inside France who have been awaiting and fighting for liberation these last 4 years. Not much is known about what the French people have done to help the invasion so far. A good guess is that they're doing plenty. At least it's clear what side they're on. 9th Air Force flyers returned to England this afternoon to tell how French farmers and their families waved eagerly to the Allied flyers as they rounded up farming animals and herded them to places of safety. Today's story must include mention of that prototype of John Bull, Winston Churchill, who set the House of Commons cheering with his optimistic reports on the invasion's progress. It must include mention of Britain's King George, who unashamedly called his people to prayer. There was General Charles de Gaulle,
one of the few important Frenchmen who wouldn't concede French defeat in his country's darkest hour, and who now is in England to watch the beginning of his homeland's liberation. But the important guys today were the G.I. Joes and their buddies on the sea and in the air, wearing the uniforms of America, Britain, and the countries which Hitler once foolishly thought he had conquered. And today's story must include mention of the people on this island, those people who were pledged by their Prime Minister 4 years ago last Sunday to fight on the beaches, on the landing grounds, and in the streets, but never surrender. They took today's news phlegmatically, but that's no criticism. The British people are by nature calm and rather sober-minded. Their coolness was one big reason that they stood while other nations were falling in 1940. And their ordeals in this war have been all the more sobering. They're tired, and tired people don't dance in the streets, even on D-Day. They probably won't even dance in the streets on Armistice Day. I studied the people of London both before and after the landings in France had been announced. The first glimpse was after Ed Murrow had phoned me and told me to get to such and such a building as soon as possible. I was positive immediately that D-Day had dawned, because the building to which Ed dispatched me was the building from which the big communique was to be issued. I set out as London was going to work, and the crowds I weaved through were composed of shop girls, businessmen, and a few whose garb suggested manual labor. They looked like just about any going-to-work crowd any place in the world: Pittsburgh, Chicago, San Francisco. Some looked sleepy. Some were quite brisk. Some were neatly dressed, and some were otherwise. There were white-lipped girls who apparently had got up too late to put on lipstick and intended to do so at their offices or shops. But the clothes they wore neatly or carelessly were of 1939 and 1940 vintage. The lipsticks the girls wore or neglected to wear was a hard, almost chalky substance, war stuff. And those who looked tired weren't suffering from lack of a full night's sleep. They reflected almost 5 years of labor in the front lines of war. I felt like yelling out, "It's happened. We've invaded Europe." Because what was started today is what these people have been working and fighting for since the bedraggled fugitives from Dunkirk staggered back to their homes 4 years ago this week. 3 or 4 hours later, when I went out into the streets of London again, I learned how the people would have reacted had I spilled the big secret with which I was bursting. They would have said, as many did say to me after communique number 1 had been broadcast, "That's good." And they would have said it, as they did say it later, very calmly and matter-of-factly. They wouldn't have appeared jubilant, but as a policeman said to me tonight, they were jubilant inside. I return you now to CBS in New York.
Columbia's news headquarters in New York once again. It's time now to pause for station identification. I just want to take this opportunity to assure all of you, our listeners, that we are remaining on the air at this point and indefinitely continuing our invasion coverage. And I want also to remind the station staffs at our affiliated stations around the country that we are continuing in 30 seconds after the signal which I shall now give. This is Bob Trout speaking in New York. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Columbia's news headquarters in New York, Bob Trout speaking. We've heard from our Columbia correspondent in London, Charles Shaw, just before we paused for station identification. And now we are going to go to Washington to hear a Columbia correspondent in Washington, Joseph C. Harsh, who has seen the cities of Berlin and the cities of Washington both during the war. He is going to compare these two wartime capitals for us. So now to Washington, Joseph C. Harsh reporting.
The task of a commanding general ceases when the battle begins. He does the training and the planning for that battle. Once it has been joined, it is up to the field commanders and to the men at the front to carry through. If he has done his job of planning and preparing as well as he can, he waits for the outcome with sober confidence. That, in effect, is the atmosphere of Washington tonight. This is the city where, more than in any one other, the shape of today's great events was formed. It might be well to recall this fact that the invasion of the continent of Europe is a professional American military plan. Long before there was any demand raised for it from Russia or by Russia's friends, the top generals and admirals of our own American forces had concluded that the only way to defeat Germany in such a war as this was by frontal assault. If the Russian promptings had any influence, it was when the spokesmen of the three powers sat down to make the final decisions. The Russian vote with the American carried the day for the concept of going to meet the enemy in front where he was strong and where the road lay straight to his heart, not around by the back door, which may have seemed easier to some, but which also meant the longer time and the longer strain, and with uncertainty at the end of the long prospect. This, then, is the city which bred the plan, and this is the city where the means to make it effective were formulated and delivered in blueprint to American industry. How nearly perfectly the job has been done remains to be seen, and perhaps remains to be argued in future years. But it has been done as well as Washington and the American system of government could do it. The men have been provided in the full strength which our leaders considered necessary. They have been given all the training our armed forces knew how to give them. Unquestionably the best training American troops have ever had. And they have been given superlative equipment produced by an industrial miracle of the ages. All this Washington has done. So today, when the news came, it could only sit back and pray earnestly that it had been done well enough. The reaction here was untinged by any false hopes or unwarranted assumptions. No promises of easy or a sure victory have ever been permitted to come out here, and they are not felt. No one knows what the result will be. They only know that a great and well-trained and well-equipped force has been set in motion, and that if it all goes even moderately well, its efforts should be crowned with success. It knows enough now from 2.5 years of war not to jump to any quick conclusions. Making a landing is only the first move in the invasion. Washington has learned how to wait for such a move to develop, as it must, slowly in its own due course. Thus it waited today, with intense interest, with burning hope, with confidence, but without illusions. One can only wonder how different the atmosphere must be tonight in the city where this war was planned quite another way, in Berlin. We know how it was there when things were going Hitler's way, before Pearl Harbor brought Washington into play as the antagonist in this great struggle. As one of the American correspondents who was there when we were still neutral, I can describe it then. It was a city where the leaders were arrogantly and completely confident of success. It was also a city where the people at first doubted and then believed when the first victories rolled in. I remember the grandstands which went up in the heart of Berlin at the time of the fall of France and were left standing all during the fall and early winter of 1941 because the Germans thought Britain would surrender under the punishment of the Luftwaffe. Finally, when Hitler realized that he would have to fight Russia, the stands came down and the people began to doubt and worry again. What has happened since then we can only conjecture from limited evidence. From the Swiss border we get stories today that the German people were shocked and bewildered and angered this morning by the news that Allied landings had been made successfully in France. We can't build much speculation on such evidence. The neutrals around Germany have been the channels too often for the transmission of distorted or even deliberately false versions of what is happening inside Germany. But this one has some of the earmarks of credibility. All the information we have received from inside Germany bears out one central conclusion, that Berlin has indulged dangerously in confident predictions about the strength of the German West Wall. The recurring doubts of the German people have been kept down by the picture of a Western barrier which could never be broken. Berlin has ceased to promise its people victory, but it has promised a draw which would be won by failure of the invasion. The invasion has not yet succeeded, but its opening move has gained a foothold on the French coast. I can well believe that this has come as a bitter shock to a people conditioned to expect a different result. This in itself could explain why Berlin propaganda, which began this morning by exaggerating the extent of our penetrations, veered around towards the end of the day to extravagant claims of successful German countermeasures. Washington is not plagued and fettered today by false promises. In all probability, Berlin tonight is caught up in the trap of its own web of falsehoods. We return you now to New York.
Back at Columbia's news headquarters in New York, we have a dispatch from Atlanta tonight which tells us that the Air Force's Materiel Command has promised that as the invasion of Europe progresses, new weapons will be poured into the attack. Jet propulsion fighters are on the way, super-flying fortresses, rocket guns, and other equally as fantastic but real, the command said. And the district supervisor in Atlanta, Colonel R.W. Probst, tells us that the full story cannot yet be told, but American parents who have sons in the thick of the fighting in France and elsewhere can be assured that the equipment furnished them gives them the best possible chance for victory and survival. And that brings us to the point on how the United States has received the news that D-Day has at last come and is indeed almost 24 hours old by now. Ned Calmer of CBS World News is here in our Columbia News headquarters in New York with a piece on how the news was received in the United States. And now here is Ned Calmer.
Historically, D-Day has been one of the most important days Americans have ever lived. But like the British, we're learning to take this war in our stride. In most American cities today, you wouldn't have noticed anything much out of the ordinary in the everyday look of the streets and the faces of American men and women. We made no show of our emotions. But nearly every one of us, by now, has a personal stake in the action on the battlefront. If not a member of the immediate family, then a relative or a close friend. And it was the thoughts of those men who are doing the fighting, while we sit safe at home, that dominated most of us today as we went about our routine activities. That's why President Roosevelt's most solemn talk of 2 hours ago, his radio address in which he led the country in prayer for divine help in our enterprise of arms, has proved the keynote of this invasion day. Its measured tones, the hushed solemnity of the occasion, were the true import of what D-Day meant for us all. So it wasn't a day of rejoicing, but a day of quiet pride and confidence that the sacrifices Americans are making on the battlefront shall not be made in vain. It was a day of church-going, and many American communities called public gatherings to commemorate the day in this vein. A great mass assembly was held in New York City. Conspicuously absent from these unfestive meetings were the war workers who are making the guns that our men are carrying into action in France. D-Day was a day of full wartime pressure for the American industrial machine. Baseball games were called off. Racetracks shut down. Some newspapers carry no advertising tonight in order to give full coverage to the invasion. At West Point today, a great cheer went up at the graduation exercises. This was because a boy named John Eisenhower was receiving his diploma. His mother, the wife of the invasion chief, was asleep like millions of other Americans when the general issued his historic communique number 1 announcing that the invasion had begun. And when the girl reporter gave her the news, Mrs. Eisenhower got her voice under control and then said, "Why didn't somebody tell me?"
That was Ned Calmer telling us about how America has received the news that D-Day has come and, as a matter of fact, has now gone. Here's a brief dispatch from London dated Wednesday. Prime Minister Winston Churchill promises a new statement in the House of Commons today, that's Wednesday, on overnight developments in the Allied invasion of France. It's now revealed that between his two statements, which he made in two appearances at the House of Commons yesterday, Tuesday, the Prime Minister flew to the motor caravan from which General Eisenhower is directing the invasion somewhere in rural England. You know, sometime earlier during Tuesday, the Brazzaville radio broadcast that General Eisenhower had established headquarters in France, but that has subsequently been denied, and here it is denied again in this brief dispatch from London, saying that the Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, has flown to the motor caravan from which General Eisenhower is directing the invasion somewhere in rural England. Those of you who stayed with us all during last night's broadcast, which began shortly after midnight and continued until 10 o'clock in the morning, New York time, will remember that we got some very interesting news from Prime Minister Churchill in his appearances at the House of Commons. We got some of the most specific details and the freshest news that we had had on the invasion up to that point,
And now we are told that on Wednesday morning in England, the Prime Minister will make a new statement in the House of Commons on overnight developments. Meanwhile, to sum up the situation as briefly as possible, we can remember that at 10 o'clock Eastern Wartime, the President, in his broadcast in Washington, said, "The invasion is a success so far." And about 30 minutes later, Columbia's correspondent Edward R. Murrow, speaking from London, summed it up by saying, "A brilliant beginning." And now, here at our news headquarters in New York, is William L. Shirer, who is here to discuss for us for a few moments German generals whom our Allied troops in northern France are now facing. Here's Mr. Shirer.
Just a word about the German commanders in charge of the armies whom General Eisenhower's forces are facing on the beaches of France tonight. General Eisenhower's opposite number is Field Marshal von Rundstedt. He's 69 years old and the oldest of the top German generals. Thus, he is 18 years older than General Eisenhower. On the other hand, he is undoubtedly the best general Hitler has. I learned something about him when covering the German armies first in Poland and then later in the German drive through Holland, Belgium, and France just 4 years ago this month. In the Polish campaign in September 1939, von Rundstedt commanded the German Army Group South that swept through southern Poland and sealed the doom of the Polish army in a little over a week's time. The next spring in the West, the spring of 40, he made even a more amazing record. As commander of the German Army Group A in the center of the Western Front, it was von Rundstedt who achieved the now famous breakthrough across the Meuse River to the seacoast that split the Anglo-French armies and brought on their disaster. In Russia, von Rundstedt commanded the so-called Army Group South, which swept through the Ukraine in the early part of the war. The Russians considered von Rundstedt the outstanding German commander opposing them. But he did meet his match in Russia, and now he is matched against General Eisenhower. The other two top German generals facing us in the invasion now are Marshal Rommel, the over-publicized leader of the Axis forces in Africa, and Marshal Blaskowitz, the latter a comparatively unknown general, at least in this country. General Blaskowitz, actually, is one of the team of German generals who made a big name for himself in Germany during the Polish and French campaigns. As commander-in-chief of the Eastern Military District in Poland, it was he who helped plan the German invasion of Russia, and he took a very prominent part in the early part of that war. In von Rundstedt and Blaskowitz, if not in Rommel, the Allied commanders are up against two of Germany's best generals. But as one who saw them operate in Poland and then in the West, I imagine that they are not as confident now as they were then. For one thing, the opposition is quite a different thing now, and so are their own once unbeatable forces.
That was William L. Shirer here at our news headquarters in New York, discussing German generals. And now Columbia's military analyst, Major George Fielding Elliott, has a rather similar piece to discuss this evening. Major Elliott is going to talk about German defenses. Here is Major Elliott.
During the past hour or two, we have received two dispatches dated the Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force about the defenses of the coast of France, the so-called Atlantic Wall. It seems that the Germans, in planning their beach defenses, left by necessity rather than by design a number of fundamental weak spots. The spots are rather stretches of beach between the strongly fortified major seaports. And that particular stretch across which the Americans drove into France today and their British comrades were selected many months ago as the best point of attack. But only recently did the Germans seriously start to build up the defenses there, and the attack found these defenses far less heavily gunned and the defenses themselves far less well built up than the great port areas, such for example, as the Elbe and Weser estuaries, the Hook of Holland, and in France, the ports of Dunkirk, Calais, Boulogne, Dieppe, and Le Havre, and St. Malo, Brest, Lorient, Nantes, and Bordeaux, all of which are large seaports and are very heavily fortified. It is, of course, to be realized that a seaport, a well-equipped seaport, is one of the objectives that an invading force will seek to attain as soon as possible. To all indications, the Allies took advantage of the German failure to fortify the stretch between Le Havre and Cherbourg. It remained almost without beach obstacles, and the inshore defenses were nothing like as massive as those stretching for many miles on either side. This left a breach of about 60 miles between the northern wing of the defenses, which ended at Le Havre, and the southern chain, which began at Cherbourg. It was the Germans, in erecting their defenses, had to erect them just as we've had to do many things on a system of priorities. On the French coast, they erected their heaviest defenses on the French side of the Straits of Dover, where the distance to England is shortest, and where perhaps, therefore, they felt they had the most reason to expect attack. Second priority was given to the Seine estuary of the port of Le Havre and to the port of Cherbourg. Other areas were developed to a lesser extent and at a later date. The low priority, which kept materials and weapons away from this Cherbourg-Le Havre area and made it, so to speak, the Achilles heel of the Nazi defenses, was due largely to the urgent necessity for protecting the seaports first, and also to the general German lack of manpower, transportation, and supplies necessary if they were to create a continuous wall along the coast of France or on the coast of Western Europe from Denmark to Spain. Week by week through the winter, Allied reconnaissance showed the slow progress in converting scattered houses and villages into strong points, and Allied fingers were kept crossed as the Germans again and again showed marked signs of nervousness about this spot or that, but never seemed to get around to really fortifying this particular chosen stretch. Not until Field Marshal Rommel's first extensive western inspection in February last did the enemy show increased interest in these invitingly bare beaches and river estuaries. Even then, he gave first attention to multiplying minefields in the immediate inshore areas, to lengthening and deepening anti-tank ditches close to the waterline, to emplacement of light guns to fire along the beaches, and to general improvement of the deeper defenses. Only after the winter storms had blown out along toward the middle of April did the four commonest types of offshore beach obstacles begin to appear. They were thick along our target areas, although still not as numerous as at many other points. But of course, when it comes to attacking a fortified port, a place such as Cherbourg or Le Havre, we shall find rather a different situation. We'll find the entire region guarded by belts of wire, plus anti-tank ditches up to 65 feet wide in the vicinity of the important towns and crossroads, strongholds, and batteries. Minefields have been laid up to a depth of more than 1,000 yards behind the shore, and some areas have been inundated, and most of the important roads have been mined. Fields have been strewn with posts, barbed wire, and garnished with anti-personnel mines to prevent landings from the air. And inside the important towns, the Germans have fortified buildings and constructed trenches and splinter-proof shelters behind the harbor areas for distances of 1 to 3 miles. However, we should not be overly impressed with these purely material defenses. After all, what counts is the men behind them, men in sufficient numbers and with sufficient weapons and ammunition to defend these fortifications, which otherwise are simply obstacles which can be bypassed or gotten over. And the great German difficulty is a difficulty of manpower and of distribution of what manpower they have. So that if a great port like Cherbourg, for example, were to be cut off from all supplies, its garrison isolated, so that reinforcements could not reach it, it would not be the defenses themselves which would stop our troops from capturing it as long as they had the superior power and the superior strength to do so. And now, here again is Bob Trout.
That was Major George Fielding Elliott, Columbia's military analyst, speaking to you from our Columbia News headquarters here in New York. I have a few dispatches which have come in and which I'm going to give you in a few seconds, but before I do, I'd like to remind all of you who are listening tonight that in approximately 3 minutes, that is at 12:30 Eastern Wartime, we who are on duty here at Columbia's News headquarters are going to take a brief intermission from our news coverage. Of course, we're remaining on duty at our microphones, and here in the newsroom, we shall interrupt any programs to bring you late news that comes in, and we shall be back, even if no late news does come in, to keep you up to date with summaries and dispatches direct from Supreme Headquarters of the Allied Expeditionary Force. I merely wanted to tell you that we are taking that brief intermission at 12:30 Eastern Wartime, but to remind you to keep tuned to your Columbia station for the continuing invasion coverage. A dispatch that comes by way of London tells us that the German Transocean Agency says today that the Allies have made further landings at the mouth of the Orne River under cover of naval artillery. That's the German Transocean Agency broadcast that's reported to us from London. Here we have a brief indication of how bad the weather has been in the Channel. You know, we've heard from a good many correspondents now who have accompanied the forces who made the landing, telling about the rising winds and the choppy sea in the Channel. United Press war correspondent Robert Miller, who covered the first phase of the invasion from a PT boat, enclosed this note to his editor with one batch of copy that he sent in. He said, "Sorry about the messy copy, but written aboard rolling PT. Sure could use some seasick pills and liniment, plus a good pair of spurs." That's the latest indication of the state of the weather in the English Channel. So far, it has not interrupted our steady stream of supplies, but there's no doubt that everyone would feel a good bit easier if the weather would definitely let up and become very pleasant. Columbia Shortwave Listening Station here in New York has heard a BBC broadcast telling that the 1st Royal Air Force Beach Squadron has gone ashore on the French invasion coast to pave the way for a steady flood of Royal Air Force personnel who from now on will operate from the French side of the Channel. These beach squadrons have the difficult job of bringing supplies to the spot, and BBC reminds us it's no easy matter, for it takes 24 tons of oil and gasoline to keep 12 Spitfires in the air for only 4 or 5 sorties. That is from a BBC broadcast which was heard here in New York by Columbia Shortwave Listening Station. And now we are about to interrupt our coverage temporarily. We'll be back on the air frequently during the night, however. This is Bob Trout speaking from Columbia's News headquarters in New York. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Columbia presents the nation's #1 trumpeter, Harry James, and his music makers. Columbia brings you Harry James, the nation's #1 trumpeter, and his music makers, playing from the roof of the Hotel Astor overlooking Times Square in New York City. And we're going to hear songs that's sung by Kitty Callan and Buddy DeVito. And now to begin with, here's an untitled original by Teasel. Harry James and his music makers, and that was a tune by Warren Tisdale. And now here is Buddy DeVito with an overemphasis on romance. Too Much in Love. And we have for you both the words and music this time. It's Kitty Callan with A Word or Two to the Wise. It could happen to you.
Your heart beside, lock your dreams at night. It could happen to you. Don't
Here we have a number which has had a lot of listening to and deserves it. Harry James and the Music Makers play On the Alamo. Now it's Harry James and the orchestra in a bit of reminiscing. I'll remember April. Ladies and gentlemen, from the roof of the Hotel Astor in New York City, Columbia is sending your way the music of Harry James and his music makers. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Columbia brings you Harry James, the nation's #1 trumpeter, and his music makers. We're to hear the songs of Kitty Callan and Buddy DeVito. And to start things here in this portion of our program, we hear Kitty Callan in the tune, I'll Walk Alone. And here's a jaunty bit of jive in both title and theme. Buddy DeVito sings it, You Send Me.
Send me right out of this world. You send me. You give me that kick I never knew. You send me. You're letting me know I'm living. Who wouldn't be living, loving you? When people shout, hey there, come out of that cloud, I just want to stay there, satisfied and starry-eyed, 'cause you sent me right out of this world. But darling, there's one thing I hope you never do. Don't ever send me away from you. people shout, Heather, come out of that cloud. I just want to stay there, satisfied and starry-eyed, 'cause you sent me right out of this world. But darling, there's one thing I hope you never do. Don't ever send me away from you.
Lovely Kitty Cowan comes along now to propound a bit of basic philosophy to the tune of Take It Easy. And here's a tune we can okay when we read the inscription on the title page. It's by Harry James, called Backbeat Boogie. and gentlemen, Columbia has brought you the nation's #1 trumpeter, Harry James, and his music makers in a program broadcast from the roof of the Hotel Astor overlooking Times Square in New York City. Vocals were by Kitty Callan and Buddy DeVito. And now this is Don Baker reminding you that for the best in late dance music, always turn to the spot on your dial where the announcer says, "This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System."